Alright, everybody. It says that the stream is live. I have double and triple checked. Something's happening. It's not disconnected. Although, hopefully I don't disconnect, because there was some thunder around here earlier, so... Which, keeping in mind, I didn't have internet properly through my proper land line connection until, like, maybe 12 hours ago. I'm just
Yeah,
thankful that we're here, rather than using a tiny little mobile hub I nearly had to use.
yeah.
I mean,
Owen and
apparently your internet is more set than the AEW backstage right now.
I would
yeah,
rant, but if I swear within the first couple of minutes of a live stream, we get demonetized. So I'll wait.
yeah. So, in regards to Ashley having issues with his internet, like all of us, eventually, it's it's always going to be one of us. Owen and I had a conversation this morning for about an hour where we completely reshaped the schedule for the entirety of September. And then I was getting ready. I was in mid sentence. I was getting ready to say, "Oh, it's a good thing we don't have a video tonight because I haven't slept yet." And I got as far as, "It's a good thing we don't have a video tonight," and he just cut me off and just said, "Ashley's internet's working." It was like, so I had to like power sleep for a few hours, and now we're
uh,
I thought I had a really dark thought. I thought when you said just like all of us, I thought you were going to say it inevitably died.
well, yeah, that too. And it was oh shit, what else was I about to say just now? Wow, it's gone. I had a big boy caprice moment. Oh yes, I was gonna tell you, brother. You don't know this, but the thing Ashley is referring to is that when we did our awards video this past week,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking to the chat for about 20 minutes, nearly 20 minutes, and then we realized that we weren't live.
I pressed
Oh
the go
God!
I pressed the go live button on YouTube, and it looked like it was going live, and it never did. So, um,
Yeah,
so
Owen was the one
again,
that chimed in and
still
said
like
like,
the AEW locker room right now. Um, so yeah, welcome everybody. Cold open. Sustains the traditions.
so we are live for real this time.
Yeah, I'm
It
waiting for
doesn't say people
chat
are
to say
waiting.
we're
It says
not.
people are waiting.
I'm waiting for chat to say we're not live, but chat's already populating with our usual comments and considerations. Thanks to you all guys out there for that. I mean that the numbers going up in a forward motion in terms of a clock going, so I think we are live. I have to double check. It's annoying. This is gonna be. It's literally gonna be a case of like Linkara and his PO unboxings. It's like, is the camera on? Is it recording? So yeah, well,
Well, I know what tipped Owen off was that it said that people were still waiting.
yeah.
I'm assuming it doesn't say that.
No, on mine it says concurrent viewers. So
I wish somebody would have thought to post the GIF in the chat of Ted Knight going, "Well, we're waiting."
so yeah. Hello, I'm the host of the Shindig, Ashley, joined as ever by AJ
Yeah.
and Chris. As we get through your, I'm going to say tomfoolery because there is a little bit of that, but obviously the big talking points, as I can see already from Spencer's first stuff, unsurprisingly, is what's going down in Venice right now. With, I think TIFF is starting like Thursday, is it? I should probably have a quick check. TIFF 2022. No, I don't want to know who's going to TIFF. I want to know when it starts. September the 8th, so it is Thursday. There we go. I have a date. So we'll jump first straight into that because Spencer says thoughts on the mixed reviews that Empire of Life, Don't Worry Darling, and Bardo have got, along with the very positive reviews for Women Talking and Tar. I would say it doesn't hugely matter because the one I was more interested in, and the one which nearly made everyone cry because it made Brendan Fraser cry in a 6-minute standing ovation, was The Whale. And one of the critics that I sort of follow the most in terms of their reviews only gave it a 2-star and was pretty negative on it. That's despite, on Rotten Tomatoes at least, it has like a 83% positive because there's only about like 18 or 20 reviews, at least when I last looked. The key thing is not everybody's privileged enough to go to these festivals, so I'd say it's only in that final week when it actually like gets generally shown to the press that we're more likely to have a better interpretation of what people think of it, because certainly on the Whale front, the review that I saw was it was sort of pretentious, sort of, and not that good. Yet other reviews have sort of loved that pretentiousness of it, and have sort of like it's a parable sort of thing. It's
so it's 100% an Aronofsky movie then.
yeah. I mean, why should we be surprised? And then the other thing as well. Don't Worry Darling has got pretty mixed reviews from the critics, yet in all those mixed reviews, the key thing that comes through is Florence Pugh's performance is astounding. And we know the trend of quite a lot of the actor and actress Oscars over the years. The film could be shit, but if it's got a damn good performance, despite the material that it's working with, it's got a chance to be in.
And why do I feel like that's especially prominent in actress? It seems to be.
Yeah. Not everybody was high on Andra Day for her People vs. Billie Holiday, but got a nomination. Not everybody was high on Chastain, but she won it last year. Not everybody...
So the thing now is that, first of all, it's funny you say that Florence Pugh has been called out as outstanding, and my first thought was also typical Florence Pugh then.
Yes, that's the other thing the review said.
That's what I was going to say about the Florence Pugh thing, too. I was going to say, well, in other news, the sun came up.
Yeah. But that's such a stacked category. And we really don't need another contender.
What's that say, though, that I don't really follow the Oscar movies that much, but it didn't surprise me that Florence Pugh turned in a good performance.
Yeah, yeah, because you haven't even seen Midsummer yet, have you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow. Midsummer will blow your mind.
Problem is, I'm trying to look at like some of these active sort of things on Rotten Tomatoes, because it says like, oh, Banshees of Inisherin's got a 100% positive from like 6 reviews, except it's still 100% from 17 to it. But again, that's only 17 reviews compared to probably like the 100 to 150 that you should be getting.
From what you said about the reviews of The Whale, I kind of get the feeling that The Whale's not going to be remembered for the movie. It's going to be remembered for Brendan Fraser.
Which, considering everything that he's been through...
That's what I said in the prediction video, was it'd be more of an acting showcase. I was thinking also, I was probably underestimating Sadie Sink in the last video, and I might have to jump on that as well.
We'll get to that.
Are we under the impression, don't want to jump the gun or anything, but are we under the impression that Fraser is the front runner? Because we could say, oh, because the hype for the whale is big right now, of course they're going to say that, but I feel like that was kind of somewhat how we went into the video last week, because I can't really think of who else had more buzz at the time. I mean, I know there's some people that think that Austin Butler is still like really. I don't even have Austin Butler in though right now, but I saw some of the like reactions to Fraser's performance and Fraser's reviews, and some of them were just pictures of Austin Butler looking sad.
I'll make a bold Oscars prediction. I don't know what's going on, but I'll make a bold prediction. I'll make another Kathy Bates call. So my prediction is that Fraser will be a front runner at SAG, but he will miss Oscar nomination by a two popes like situation where somebody got nominated out of left field.
I'm trying to remember what I predicted from last week.
I hope that doesn't happen, but it is early. So that's totally like we always say there's something that comes out of TIFF unexpectedly, and TIFF hasn't happened yet.
But I just see I see the actors rallying around Fraser, which is why I think he'll do well at SAG. But I think ultimately he'll get passed over at Oscars for maybe somebody more veteran in a performance where we might think, they didn't really need that nomination, but it's them.
Yeah, Bardo as it stands has a 57 on Rotten Tomatoes from 23 reviews. As I try and get the rest of them up.
That's interesting, because I feel like I said, I was at least thinking, but I was thinking that I said in the video, even though I kind of went in on Bardo pretty hard, that I was wondering if it was just based on like, well, Inarritu had two big movies in a row recently, and then this is his first one since, and it's like, are we automatically going to... Mind you, he's pretty much always done well because of Babel also, but he could also very easily be divisive. But then again, The Revenant was divisive when it first started screening.
Yeah. Bones and All has a 92. I don't think Blonde has premiered yet. So we're checking. No, that isn't showing up until September 8th, so on Thursday. The key thing about that is, though, it's literally releasing the following week in cinemas. And then it's getting put on Netflix like 2 weeks after that. So if they're doing that premiere so close to when it's actually getting shown, it probably is maybe concerning. I don't know. It's in competition as well, so maybe it's a case that they shouldn't do like worst picture or whatever.
I have brother, where do you stand on Ana de Armas in general, and then the idea of her playing Monroe? Because I know you've seen her in a few things now.
What is it that I've seen her in? I get her mixed up with somebody else.
Knives Out. Blade
Yeah, she's the one in Knives Out.
Okay, then I'm not going to get her confused. And she's playing who?
Marilyn Monroe.
Man, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Michelle Williams filled that well enough that we don't have to revisit that well for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's appropriate you use Michelle Williams as a comparison, because Blonde is much like Mike with Marilyn. Blonde is also a completely fictional movie. It just happens to be a real person.
So it's kind of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. Also, let us not forget, Ana de Armas also had that great scene in No Time to Die, the big action scene.
Yeah, jury's still out on that one.
I wouldn't say the jury isn't out on that bit of the film. Maybe the rest of the film as a whole. I don't know.
Yeah, the Ana de Armas scene is one of the best scenes of No Time to Die.
Yeah, I'll agree. And I just think that whenever you have somebody that does a good job like Michelle Williams, sometimes it seems a little soon to go back to that. It's like, I feel like I always make a comic comparison on this show, but it's all I know. But like when Joaquin Phoenix played Joker, I feel like if Jared Leto's Joker was well received and done better, I don't know that movie gets made right away.
Yeah, I can see that. But then there's also the thing, time is a very fast monster. Mike with Marilyn is 11 years old already.
Jesus.
2011.
Okay, maybe it hasn't been too long then, because between Phoenix and Ledger was 11 years.
It does feel like 11 years ago wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah, man. I don't want to get demonetized, but F time.
We should be past the threshold by now, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna go all John Moxley up in this piece. I'll just say F time.
Just having a quick look. Don't worry, darling's got a 67 based on 6 reviews. Please tell me there's been more than that. And White Noise got a pretty positive, like 84%. I like the fact, because that's why I always go with Rotten Tomatoes, because that just looks at the review and whether it's positive or negative. Metacritic always weighs it, so like supposedly the top critics mean more, which means that the 84 actually becomes a 68 for them, which is a bit confusing.
So, almost like it's like graded on a curve.
Yeah,
Kinda.
as if the small people that watch the films don't matter. Which, considering
Hey, I tell you what.
considering the status of our channel, I call bullshit on that.
Yeah, the people that say the little people don't matter, we're the ones paying the money to sit in the seats, not the critics and producers that get to
There's
watch
a
it for
reason
free.
why Top Gun took $700 million.
Yes.
So basically, Metacritic is the Electoral College of movies.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to put it.
Oh, wow, that changed. So remember how I said it was like 67% from 6 reviews? Don't worry, darling is now a 39 from 18.
Holy fuck!
Oh man.
Those positive ones have started to get outweighed by people. As I say, even the negative reviews are saying, despite Florence Pugh, it can't be safe, sort of thing. So Florence Pugh is the linchpin. It's like, despite her, it's bad. Despite her best, it's bad, or because of her, it's just about good. It's one of them.
I feel like there's been a lot of movies like that though, where like the movie's terrible, but it's like that performance is wonderful. It's just in a terrible movie.
Yeah, if it's low enough, I want, because when we started this conversation, it was like, man, okay, so Florence Pugh's trying to break into the 5 for actress, but it's like if she's got an extremely stacked category on top of terrible reviews for the movie, that's a pretty steep climb. Because
and it's because I feel like those things should be looked at separately.
Yeah.
Like I think a performance can boost a movie, but I don't think a movie should be able to nerf a performance.
Yeah, there's been some times where when we do our lineups at the end of the year, I'll like nominate somebody for a movie that I really didn't like. Just recently, I did it with Arliss Howard and Mank. Anytime Mank comes up, I turn my nose up and like scowl. But Arliss Howard was award worthy in it, and you can't back away from that.
Also, roughly 58% for Master Gardener, and Tar's got 100. Although according to Metacritic, it's 92.
Master Gardener's the new Schrader, isn't it?
Yes. I've heard mixed things. I think the review that I saw, at least on Guardian, that I try and follow, gave it sort of, I don't know if it was a 2 or a 3, so it's sort of on the cusp.
I did notice that the poster for the Master Gardener pretty much looks exactly like the poster for the card count.
And apparently, although it wasn't at Venice, Telluride has marked out quite strongly for women talking as well. Let me have a quick look. Where's the Rotten Tomatoes page? That is 100%, but only 9 because I guess because it's Telluride and everybody's focused on Venice and Toronto. But I think I'm trying to remember if Women Talking is showing at Toronto. Just like out of competition or anything. Yes, September the 13th, and also at the New York Festival in October. The big thing that they announced over here, annoyingly, I can't go to these because none of them are local to me, like they did with like Ammonite and The Irishman years and years back. Banshees of Inisherin and Glass Onion are getting shown outside of London as part of the festival. So it's actually getting a semi-wide festival appearance because like you don't have to travel to London to be able to see it, which is an interesting move.
I'm really curious what the reactions to Glass Onion will be.
Well, we probably know by the next time we meet to discuss this in 2 weeks because I think it's at Toronto. Let me just check.
I'm pretty sure.
Double check. What's the date? Special presentations. Wait, it's not in special. Oh wait, I'm looking for Knives Out. It's not. It's Glass Onion. Damn it. The world premiere, yeah, September the 10th. So Saturday. And it's closing the London Film Festival as well. So it's being bookmarked by Empire of Light and Glass Onion. They're two good bookmarks. I'll allow it.
And it kind of drives me crazy that most of us won't see Glass Onion until 2 days before Christmas. Because the more I think about it, the more hyped I'm getting for Glass Onion. I need more Benoit Blanc. I know it's Bizarro World. I'm begging for Daniel Craig. It's really weird. It's a weird feeling, but it's happening.
You do that though. You really get on board with Daniel Craig in comedy.
Yeah, it's his true calling. There's no way around it.
Right, we'll probably drop in and out of that as we go through the chat. I'm trying to make sure whether I already have to say cut off. No, I think we're just about all right for now. Spencer continues. AJ, I loved watching Basketball Diaries, the verses. The new and improved format is even more engaging. And then I'm hearing that Hong Chow is also getting singled out more than Sadie Sink along with Brendan Fraser. Oh, we have a battle for who actually wants to be supporting actress there.
Yes. What I saw seemed to be about equal between Sink and Chow, but it made me think, like, for God's sake, predictions are going to be such a pain in the ass.
Sink is probably the more popularist one because of the Stranger Things thing. I would argue.
Swift, yeah.
And the Taylor, yeah. Spencer also says, I went on a Blu-ray bin. It says Blu-ray buy, but I was going to say Blu-ray shop-a-thon, I guess. Spencer's bought Days of Thunder, Fargo, the 1943 Phantom of the Opera, and Black Swan. That's a good collection, I'd say. Because he says general thoughts on the films. Days of Thunder, I feel, has sort of like... I mean, at the point that we're going, I'm wondering whether we're going to get some of the Days of Thunder 2. Because of how well it did for Top Gun.
That would be interesting.
I've never minded Days of Thunder, but of course I am all for a Carrie Elway's heel turn whenever it happens. Especially smug asshole Carrie Elwes.
I always forget Carrie Elwes is in it because there's so many people in that movie.
Yeah, it's a very stacked cast. You've got Cruz, Duvall, Kidman, Randy Quaid, John C. Reilly,
Rooker.
Michael Rooker, Carrie Elwes.
It's like Super Smash Brothers. Everyone is here.
I have a very complicated relationship with Black Swan. It's actually it's actually on video because when Black Swan came out in 2010 during the Oscar season, I saw it 3 times. I was really into it, thought it was really powerful and really freaky and weird. I was really into the Portman stuff. And then I always thought Kunis was overrated in it. I never saw what that was all about. But I don't know if it was because I hate the idea of being influenced by people. And brother, you were there for this. The forum that I hung out on, the movie forum that I hung out on, everybody on that forum was obsessed with Black Swan.
Yeah.
He made it out to be the holy fucking grail of all time, just constantly. And I don't know if that had something to do with it. But the last time I watched Black Swan, which I don't think has been since I did the Versus with the Wrestler, which was years ago, it didn't hold up for me. I just was not into it at all. And I did not understand what I saw in it before, which is a bummer. But since I'm so far removed from all of that, I do wonder what would happen if I watched it again. Maybe I'll do. I might do like a mini marathon of Aronofsky before The Whale or something, and that'll be a chance to revisit it. But because I've been kind of wanting to go back to The Wrestler too for a while. But yeah, the last time I watched Black Swan, it did not go well, and I'm not quite sure what happened between when it came out and then, because there was probably about maybe 5 or 6 years in between, and it was. Yeah, I just was not into it. I don't know what happened.
I think I remember is the pictures from the premiere of Black Swan when you and I started to have the joke between us that Aronofsky wears a scarf everywhere he goes, no matter the temperature.
I think it was probably right around that. I can't remember if he did like a roundtable for The Wrestler, and he might have been it. But I feel like the scarves came in around Black Swan. And it's like it's so cliche, artist, whatever the fuck. Like we were talking about the whale being accused of being pretentious, and I actually praised Mother when it came out, despite acknowledging it's pretentious as fuck.
Well, I feel like his whole name is Darren Pretentious Aronofsky.
Yeah, and but it's like Ashley was talking about with the whale reviews, though. It's like I feel like if you are a fan of Aronofsky, you kind of you recognize the pretentiousness, but you also embrace it. It's like what I talked about. Why I love The French Dispatch so much was because It's like Wes Anderson has now finally acknowledged, oh, I have a style. I have a very specific style that I'm known for. I'm gonna lean into that now as hard as I possibly can and be as Wes Anderson-y as I possibly can.
My experiences with most of Aronofsky stuff, maybe bar The Wrestler, was I get it, that I don't get it, that I get it. It's sort of like, Mother, I see what's happening, but I don't know why. Requiem for a Dream, I see what's happening, but I don't know why.
I feel like I pick on this other guy all the time, but to me, whenever somebody says pretentious director, I think of two people. I think of Darren Aronofsky and I think of Terrence Malick.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh, but also true.
Though, funny enough, this goes back to 2011. You and I went out of town to see The Tree of Life in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
The Tree of Life's pretty good in a theater.
Yeah.
I've warmed up to Malick, especially since I rewatched The Thin Red Line. I've really warmed up to Malick. Because if you haven't watched,
now don't get me wrong. Just because they're pretentious doesn't mean that I don't enjoy some of their work. You remember when it was announced that Aronofsky was going to do a Batman film? I was like, yeah, let's see it. Let's see what happens. And then Matt Reeves made the Batman, and I feel like that's the closest we're ever going to get.
There's an Ethan Hawke quote where I worship the words any words that come out of Ethan Hawke's mouth. I pretty much worship, especially when it's about the industry. There's a video where Ethan Hawke basically says, "Don't be afraid to be pretentious."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because I mean, if it's you coming out, then that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the LA Times, because I guess Tar also showed up at Telluride, as did Empire of Light, and that's where those things have come up of, you know, people not being massively into Empire of Light, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I'm
It's
really
fu- it's
happy to hear positivity towards Tar because I've been waiting for Todd Field to come back for fucking ever,
Yeah.
and I love that it seems to be paying off.
it's funny. I feel like because I don't really contribute a lot to the awards conversations because I don't know what's going on, but I feel like right now where I'm pitching in, I feel like do you remember the scene in Old School where they're doing the debate and Frank blacks out and gives this like answer that's just like spot on? That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm like, yeah, I feel like it's a little pretentious, but it may win at SAG. I blacked out.
Yeah, because I was like, because when we got to the beginning, it was like, so you going to partake in the awards because you did call Kathy Bates before anybody else by looking at a screenshot, and you're like, no, I'm not. I don't really. Nah. And I was like, but I think you do. I think you do fairly well. Because long before we were doing YouTube, you and I would do that. Then well, us doing it is what started the monthly thing that we do.
I feel like I recall beating you a couple times.
Probably
Which, given
because
given
because
that the
we had a
form that
conversation
AJ's been
about
in the
you.
last few years on these predictions, you'd win then, Chris.
I'm like the kid that when they pick their basketball bracket, they're just like, "Ooh, a panther would beat a lion," and then I pick a panther. Like, like you sit there and you study, and you're like, "Well, this happened at SAG, and this happened at Film Critics, and this happened at London," and I'm just like, "Their hairpiece looks better. That'll probably win." Like,
And oftentimes it actually does feel that random. So that's how that comes into play.
Spencer also says,
like I feel like we should do an experiment. I feel like that when the Oscars do, because you guys predict winners once the nominations are out, right?
Yeah.
I will go through and I will pick winners based on no information while you guys study up and do your awards videos all year. I won't watch your videos to cheat. I won't read reviews. I won't do anything like that. I will look at a blank slate of Oscar movies and I will select winners, and I'm curious to see how I stack up.
That should be fun.
That will be my participation in awards season.
You're gonna get a perfect score. I guarantee that.
No,
It's
there's
like,
going to be some obvious stuff where like you're going to pick actor and I'm going to pick one. You're going to be like, well, if you paid any attention at all, you would realize this dude hasn't lost since September. So,
and what also would probably help is like looking at West Side Story last year, where it was like we were watching all the guilds, and it's like, man, West Side Story keeps striking out of the guilds, and it's like it's West Side Story's barely getting any guild love at all. It's all going to Tick Tick Boom. Well, damn, I guess West Side Story's not going to do very well. And then some random person could come in and say, "Oh, Spielberg remade a Best Picture winner. That's going to get a lot of nominations," and that person would have been right.
it's like True Grit, like 10 nominations, no wins.
Yeah.
I'm just having to put a message in chat, I'm sort of cutting off, sort of paying attention fully to your comments, because we've got to comment number 4. Out of
This is what happens when I wake up ready to play awards games.
and we're 35 minutes in.
I want the Big Brother person to come back. If you're out there, ask
don't
your
worry,
question again.
it's
I wanna
there.
tackle it.
It's there in the chat.
Oh.
I've already checked.
Yes. Yes. Then
Spe-
I will have knowledge over you two.
I don't know shit about it. So.
I keep getting stuff, I guess because of how popular it is over here with the community. I keep getting messages in my Twitter feed about the Nigerian Big Brother. Even
Really?
though I don't know how to watch it. And I don't know how anybody watches it. But it's there. And I constantly have to go, no, I'm not interested in this because I don't know what this is. Also, it keeps mentioning Hermes, who apparently is one of the contestant. I just remember that as the courier people that had to change their name because everybody complained about them. So they changed their name to make it go, oh, well, it's not the same company, even though it literally says formerly Hermes. Like, great job.
Maybe somehow they thought that you would like Nigeria and Big Brother because you liked Uganda's best action movie, Who Killed Captain Alex.
Oh no, it's been going on for years, even before Commandos existed. I swear, if we can somehow do a stream on Christmas Day, it's just going to be a watch along of us reacting to Owen watching it.
Oh, that'd be amazing, actually.
Right, before I realise that we've got, before I realise we're 7 hours in, Spencer, I finished watching You Can't Take It With You and Gone With the Wind. I'm guessing that was the another versus.
He's still watching Picture Winners. That's
Yeah.
38 and 30.
All right. There. I actually loved You Can't Take It With You and thought Gone With the Wind was overrated. To some extent, I see that. Especially because they burn the set down.
It's very easy for a movie to be overrated when it's considered like one of the greatest of all time and like the top 2.
It is. I mean, we live in a world where I've heard people say The Wizard of Oz is overrated.
Oh, I killed all those people. They don't exist anymore.
Ooh. Actors... Well, it's 2 separate comments, but I'll bundle them together. Actors or actresses that you're starting to take notice of and be impressed by.
Like within how many years? Like, are we talking like recently, or are we talking like in the last couple years?
Well, I guess it's sort of a case of it's hard for me to say Michael Ward because I've only really seen him in Blue Story before he got the gig that is Empire of Light. But I was really impressed by that. And in terms of like with actresses, it's not really like take notice of because a lot of people have been paying attention to her since Killing Eve started. But I think Jodie Comer in the last few years has proven that she's got the potential to also be a big screen actress. It's just it's a shame sort of Last Duel was what it was, because I think in essence there's a good performance in there from her, despite a very clunky script. That's one from each, but it's hard to say. Like, are we looking for sort of like newcomers like that haven't shown up?
Yeah.
Or are we talking like people that have done a load of crap and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're actually doing good stuff now?
Because for some reason, the first person that came to mind for me was Lakeith Stanfield, but then I was like, oh, wait, Short Term 12 is 10 years old now. Oh. I don't know why. Somebody that jumped out at me last year was Joel Fry. He was in The Earth, and then he played Jasper in Cruella. And I wasn't big on Cruella, but I loved the casting of him and Paul Walter Hauser as Jasper and Horace. That was like perfect. And I know I saw him in something else that I took notice of him, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head now, but he came to mind.
I would have said the actress that played Batgirl, but we'll never see it again.
Man, this is another one where actually
don't tempt me with a rant about DC and Warner again.
Oh no, we'll wait until something happens, because something will happen with that. We'll just wait for the next bit of news to come out.
Yeah, when we find out that Ezra Miller like stabbed a great white shark or something.
You know who is surprisingly a really good actor that I wouldn't have seen coming? And I hope you know who I'm talking about because I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He is that comedian named Sebastian that played Crazy Joe Gallo in The Irishman, and he was also in Green Book. and it's like I saw him around occasionally as a comedian, and like being a comedian is what he's mainly known for. And it was like, oh, that's a weird casting for these Oscar movies, and he's a really good actor. he's
Yeah, but
so
there, yeah, but there's precedence there. Will Smith was a comedian; he's a good actor. Um, Robin Williams was a comedian; he was a good actor. Um,
yeah.
I had another one
Those are
and I lost it.
Oh,
those
Sebastian
are
Manis
big
Calco,
examples.
I think it is. Manis Calco.
Oh, Jim Carrey, he's comedic; he's good.
Um, not to jump ahead of like comments slightly out of order, but I think for what you're saying with the comedic stuff, I think this is appropriate to some extent. Favorite Bill Nighy performance, because he did a lot of good stuff on television over here and some film stuff, but it was only, I mean, over here it probably would have been Still Crazy, like the British Spinal Tap,
Yep.
and then for everyone else, probably Love Actually.
As I said, I hate to be in the big majority here, but I mean, yeah, Love Actually immediately comes to mind. Gideon's Daughter comes to mind also, but
Yeah.
I was more fixated on another performance in that movie, obviously. But I do remember him earning that Golden Globe along with her. But yeah, like you say Bill Nye, and just immediately Billy Mack's in my head, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
And not Victor in Underworld.
Oh my god.
Or Davy Jones.
Yeah, the Underworld cast is way too good for those movies.
I have to say, like, mine will be less obvious because I haven't seen all the stuff you guys mentioned, but I really like him in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because I
Sliding
feel
bar
like if
fast,
I'd
yeah.
want somebody to explain to me how the Earth was made, that's who I'd want to do it. And then I just can't help. It's very small, but I love his part in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, all the cameos in Hot Fuzz were great.
Especially Steve Coogan going, "Do you want me to call him all the way down here?" And he's just outside the door. That's brilliant, brilliant.
Dude, that scene, that one scene in Hot Fuzz is an embarrassment of riches.
It's amazing to think he's done all that stuff and he also did Norm of the North.
Oh man.
Because apparently everybody was in that. The shit.
Yeah.
I also forgot that he was the bloody voice of Mewtwo in Detective Pikachu. I don't know why, but it's brilliant.
I was gonna say I haven't seen it, but that sounds like good casting.
I'm intrigued to see what his portrayal of Thomas Jerome Newton is in the Man Who Fell to Earth miniseries.
Maybe he already has, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I would love to see Bill Nighy in a straight horror movie.
That doesn't sound familiar.
I'm trying to think of because the problem is like stuff over here might be considered like TV movies, whereas for you it might have got released as a film. I don't see any sort of horror stuff. I mean, maybe the
Yeah, 'cause we
closest
we
thing would
don't
be
need that.
Limehouse Golem.
And maybe I'm just thinking it's a shame that he was used in Underworld because I feel like he would have made a really good Dracula.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're not counting. I assume we're not counting Underworld and like I Frankenstein and stuff like that.
You say, I love the fact you say that because there were, ever since he first did the role in '99, there's been a radio sort of series of productions based on the Charles Paris books by Simon Brett. And in what, because the character Charles Paris is a failing actor that also is like solving crimes or gets involved in sort of murders and everything. And one of them is him playing not Dracula for legal reasons, but like Jarbek, and it's clearly supposed to be like a vampire thing, and it's now I'm just by you saying that, Chris, I'm just imagining that is now an actual thing that exists.
They should If they were going away from legal purposes, they should have just named him Dr. Acula.
I feel like that's
And
probably
yes, I know
trademarked by somebody.
I know that's a Scrubs reference.
If you can catch,
Or in the later Dracula movies in like the 40s when it was Alucard because it's Dracula backwards.
if you can find any of his sort of
Didn't
Charles
they
Paris
use
stuff,
that in Monster Squad too?
Oh yeah, they might have it.
if you
Yeah.
can find any of his Charles Paris stuff online to listen to, it's sort of fascinating. Even more so, it's nearly 15 years that he did on the radio educating Rita playing Michael Caine's role, which I think would be sort of fascinating in itself. And of course, he's in Elder Scrolls Online as well. So every time they
Dude,
do a new bit of DLC, if his character's got dialogue, he's got to go back in and record it.
I'll go comics again. Bill Nighy for Alfred, please.
Yeah, because it does. I think that's one of the reasons I'm so interested in him, in his performance coming up in Living,
Mm-hmm.
because I do think that he's seen as such, a big villain in some of these parts that or somebody that's like really as boisterous as Billy Mack is or something, that he's so good in like small sensitive parts too, and I feel like he doesn't quite get to show that off enough compared to the bigger stuff.
AJ, have you seen Mr. Bob?
I don't believe so.
Okay. It's just that's what Bill Nighy's next project is, American thriller called Roleplay. Produced by and starring Kaylee Cuoco, formerly of Big Bang Theory and all that. But Bill
Random.
Nighy's listed in that. I mean, it's a thriller, so maybe that's the... Oh, Bill Nighy replaced Billy Bob Thornton. Bill Nighy might be the killer. It might be a horror film. It's happening. You willed it into existence, Chris.
Long overdue.
Right, we're now on comment 5. Thoughts on the adventures of Robin Hood?
The Errol Flynn one.
Yeah, the role Basil Rathbone should be remembered for. Considering how he said that he fucking hated Sherlock by the end of his portrayals for Universal and Warner Brothers and everything.
I have a whole video on. I did a 3-way Robin Hood with that one, Prince of Thieves, and the Ridley Scott one. That video was a pain in the ass, by the way. So it took me so long to do that fucking thing.
Thank God it wasn't a 4-way with the Leonardo DiCaprio produced one.
Yes. But thankfully, I think that video might predate that movie. I think it came out earlier that year.
Oh,
I
right.
put that video out earlier that year.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe it was after, and I might have done that video out of spite to that movie.
I watched
But
it.
I'm not big on the Ridley Scott movie either. So.
I just love the fact with that film, I was like, I'm trying to work out what this is for. I'm just sat there and like, other people have left and whatever. And then I see in big gold letters, produced by Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm like, why was he on this shit?
As far as thoughts, well, I will say that it's obviously one of the quintessential adventure movies, and it will always be exciting. The thing that will always stand out about the Adventures of Robin Hood is the color, and not just for like the time that it came out when color was still like new, but just like every single color in that is so like my favorite color is green, and that's a really good movie for a person whose favorite color is green. Because the green looks so velvety and it's so, yeah, I can't. That's the thing that really stands out to me the most about that movie. Actually, even though the adventure is fantastic and iconic.
Thoughts on the? Hang on, I need to put my line in chat. Although I will mention this just here now. So the line in chat, if you're watching live, everybody, is sort of like the cut off. Feel free to sort of like react to things, and then we'll be confused about what you react to later. I just want to mention this though from Bry saying, I keep hearing you guys not saying Bill Nighy, but Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah. I had that problem back in the day where I wasn't sure which one it was.
I'm pretty sure I used both in this video alone.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know, just kind of interchange a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. The point is that we clearly appreciate him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now we just need some kind of way for him to like host something so he can introduce himself. That way we can answer this question.
Yeah, that's always my go-to when I'm doing a video and I'm not sure how to say somebody's name. I'll look up a video of them saying their own name.
Yeah, because you can't. John Travolta proved you can't rely on somebody else's pronunciation.
Yeah, the best one was when I was trying to figure out how to say Donald Gleason. I found a video, and the whole purpose of the video was him saying his name so you knew how to say it. Like, stuff like that's really helpful.
You can also Google it, and Google will have a little voice that pronounces it for you. You can click it, and they'll say it.
Thoughts on the freshman and or favourite Marlon Brando performance outside of the obvious ones? There's the problem. Like, I mean, maybe the Appaloosa? If you want to go sort of like really sort of out of the obvious ones. Although I do have a sort of charm for Bedtime Story as well. Him and Niven sort of work sort of interestingly in one. The problem is, like, a lot of his really exceptional, like, standout stuff would have been his, the ones you know him for, be it Streetcar or Wild One or On the Waterfront or Guys and Dolls or Mutiny on the Bounty,
I don't know if this counts as an obvious one or not, but for me, he'll always be Jor-El.
Yeah, I was contemplating whether that counts as obvious or not. Oh, I completely forgot he had a cameo in Michael Jackson's video for You Rock My World.
Wow. Okay, so I got 3 here. There's The Young Lions and Sayonara, which stood out to me. And there's one that's controversial that I appreciated for a particular reason, but it's clearly controversial for a reason. And that is Tea House of the August Moon, where he is playing somebody, needless to say, not of his own race. And that's putting it mildly.
Is that the one where he plays Genghis Khan?
No,
No,
character
John Wayne
Sakini.
played Genghis Khan.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about that performance is not that he's clearly playing a much different race, but that it's a purely comedic performance. And while we got stuff like The Freshman, later, I feel like back in his early days, in his younger days, it was really rare to see him do a purely comedic role. So that always stood out to me. And I remember him being, like, funny in it, despite how that performance could not exist now.
To me, it's more fascinating when you look at the list that he turned down or never got made. Like, he could have been in Sunset Boulevard or High Noon or A Star Is Born, East of Eden, Man with a Golden Arm, Ben-Hur, Judgment at Nuremberg, Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, The Graduate, Planet of the Apes, Butch Cassidy, or The Sundance Kid.
It's actually really interesting when you think about it, because when you hear about all those, and it's like, imagine that being his filmography.
You know, Dirty
But so
Harry,
it's like
Deliverance, Ryan's Daughter, Little Big Man.
when we said not the obvious ones, we said On the Waterfront and Streetcar and the Wild One and The Godfather and all that. He's got those roles that he's known for, but it's not a very long list for him being considered one of the greatest actors of all time. It feels like everything that's not those was something that was kind of off the radar to a lot of people, unless you're like, really follow movies. But it feels like a pretty large portion of his filmography is movies that are not popular. Interestingly enough.
And then, even though he was too ill to play, he could have been the Big Lebowski.
Oh, that would have been wild.
Instead of
I don't know.
David Huddleston, it would have been Marlon Brando.
I feel like I can't imagine anybody else but Huddleston now, though.
I know, that's where I'm at too. Like I was sitting here trying to imagine, and I was like, no, it's Huddleston all day.
He was
Yeah, 'cause the way Huddleston yells is so distinct.
he was
Yeah.
considered for Jason Robards' role in Magnolia, and James Woods' role in Scary Movie 2.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he actually still got his paycheck for Scary Movie 2. He just he got like sick at the last minute. That would have been fucking hilarious. I mean, I love James Woods crushed that part, but that would have been like I feel like that was going to be a funny scene regardless. But yeah,
It's funny when I rewatched Scary Movie 2. I remember that scene right when it started, and I was like, I wonder if this scene's as funny as I remember. And then James Woods goes, "Oh fuck this," and I was like, "Yes, it is as funny as I remember."
I love the thing that I love about Scary Movie 2 is that it's the way it's funny out of the gate because it's such a dumb joke, but then again, that's one of those movies, so you just have to run with that. But when Andy Richter starts to play the piano and that older guy says, "This is the real shit," that's the first joke of the movie. And that's because it's the first joke of the movie makes it so much funnier than it already is.
This is which Amy Adams performance do you think deserved the Oscar the most? Spencer says Junebug would be his pick.
Are we picking from her nominations?
I mean, I'm guessing so. But then, of course, you maybe have to consider what missed out on nominations as well.
Arrival. She really grew on me. I remember when The Fighter came out, and she and Melissa Leo were both like always in the running together. And I remember so many people saying, "Why is Amy Adams keep getting nominated for The Fighter?" And it's like, I don't understand why this nomination keeps happening. Now, and I don't know what happened, but now in retrospect, she's really grown on me in The Fighter, and I kind of don't really care much about Leo in it anymore. Like I think Leo's almost too actory in it now, because I was all about Leo when The Fighter first came out, but now it's been Adams over time now that's really started to stick with me. I think she's also somebody where you could say this about the whole cast, I guess. But I'd put her right up there with Streep as far as what was happening in Doubt, where you could say it's so over the top and so theatrical, but like we were saying before with Streep, because the movie is calling for those kinds of performances, I kind of love it. I kind of really love her in Doubt.
I probably.
It's always that one line that comes back to me where I feel so bad for her, where she's screaming at Streep and she says, "You don't like him just because he likes Frosty the Snowman." You just feel so bad for her.
I probably. I'm trying to remember like what won those years. Trying to remember what Amy lost out to on Doubt.
That was
Kate
Cruz.
Winslet for The Reader. Oh, that was Meryl. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I didn't really get Cruise's performance really with that. I wasn't that much of a fan, so I'd say that would be
Yeah,
the strongest contender. Although it'd probably be a toss-up between her or Viola Davis, because with the
that's
little
such a
with the little time that she had, Viola did steal the film to some extent.
yes. That is something that's always stood out to me where it makes perfect sense that Penelope Cruz is an Oscar winner. I'm with you. I am not sure what it is about that performance that got her there, but but yes, but it still makes sense that she is an Oscar winner, so I'm able to live with it. But because a lot of people hated on it the following year, I loved her so much in Nine, and I love that nomination and the fact that she was able to score it despite people hating on the movie.
Just having a quick look on my tablet, and I'm just the whale review. I'm just seeing here. Fraser's comeback is grossly.
Another example of where a movie didn't hinder a performance, which is the way it should be.
Brendan Fraser's comeback is
Yeah.
grossly manipulative to an ineffective degree. So is that positive or negative? Well done, Aronofsky. um, yeah, Brian Spencer talking a little bit of the reward stuff again. I'll say the reactions of the films that came out at Venice, that those that have got a mix right now could change. Doesn't mean that they're out right now. Spencer says some of the scores don't help, and Bryce says we just need to see more reactions from other festivals and when it actually comes out. And Spencer's going as far as taking Bardo out of everything at the
So
minute.
In Your Age is such a tough call because like we were saying, it does sound like the kind of movie that won't be as universal as Birdman or The Revenant. Because the thing we also talked about was the power of DiCaprio. Obviously, I could go all day about Hardy and The Revenant, of course, but talking about the power of DiCaprio, if anybody other than DiCaprio had played Glass, would The Revenant be the movie that it is? Would The Revenant have gotten the acclaim that it certainly wouldn't have had the box office that it got, not by a long shot.
Bry also says Netflix could still have 3 other options right now for picture: Del Toro's Pinocchio, the All Quiet on the Western Front remake, or White Noise, which we talked about earlier. It's got pretty good reviews. Spencer saying, I'm thinking Women Talking and Tar are bigger contenders than anyone thought. I always thought they were going to be in the
Hello.
hunt.
I went pretty much all in on Tar.
Yeah. You know, the problem is if it's going to be premiering at it's always the problem of like Telluride happening, but it's going to get overshadowed by Venice because it's the bigger festival, arguably. And that's the problem when they have them all at the same time. You lose track of them. Bry also did some Blu-ray shopping. Got an individual copy of Hobbit: Battle of the Five Armies, Monsters University, Into the Woods, and I guess there was supposed to be brackets in here. Sorry, Morbius. I mean, all of them could be considered rubbish.
I'll stand up for Into the Woods, but
It had James
yeah.
Corden in it. I can't take it seriously.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm like, you know, he doesn't need to be in musicals. Just because you do carpool karaoke, it makes you think you can sing. I said it last week. I still have Women Talking as my front runner, which Spencer agrees with. Just I haven't heard much about it because they seem to be like not wanting you to know about it. Put a trailer out for damn sake. This is what I had to do some research on because I was like, I've heard of one of these, but not the other two. Favorite Drew Barrymore, John Barrymore, and Ethel Barrymore performances. I mean, I've only seen John Barrymore in The Invisible Woman.
Yeah, I'm really. When you go far enough back with the Barrymores, I get confused of who's been in what.
Yeah, and
Like,
I didn't even know that Ethel Barrymore existed. So,
oh yeah, she was an Oscar nominee.
well, Oscar winner for None But the Lonely Heart in '44.
Shit, that's right. I was literally thinking.
I'm
I was
only
just about
looking
to
at
say
this because Wikipedia is my friend. Um, and then on the Drew front, ooh,
I feel like to me, and I'm not just saying this because of my love for the movie. I mean, it's a performance for the ages. That would be Scream.
yeah,
She's very, very charming in The Wedding Singer, which is perfect for that kind of. She's like gives the perfect performance for that kind of movie. But as far as a performance that just really goes all in, Scream immediately comes to mind.
I would make your same point of what you said for The Wedding Singer for 50 First Dates.
Yeah, yeah, because she's got some tough scenes in that.
Yeah.
in terms of something she's in for a bit longer than like 5-10 minutes, even though she isn't really, but because it's somewhat a tour de force. I've always enjoyed her performance as the teacher in Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Hey,
talk.
don't
I don't want to
don't
talk. I don't want
don't
to
knock
talk.
short
I don't want to
don't
talk.
knock short performances. Anthony Hopkins made it work for Silence of the Lambs.
I don't want to talk about fever pitch because that's not my fever pitch. Um, I have the proper one, not this baseball shit. And I guess she's also
I
she's also
think
pretty good in Ever After, which of course was the same year as like Wedding Singer. So that was probably, I'd say, the peak of like her being in films for longer than a seed.
not to mention she was a great child actress as well.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I was
very.
gonna say let's not sell something like E.T.
It,
short.
I think she's just as good as Firestarter, the original one. Not that bullshit. and then it went weird when she did Poison Ivy. um,
I'll have to look into the other Barrymores again because I'm very familiar with Lionel, but when we get to John, I get kind of blurry.
Is it Lionel Barrymore who plays Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Okay.
And then of course there's also John Drew Barrymore, Drew's Drew's dad. Um, which complicates things to some extent. So many Barrymore, so little time.
I think I I want to say John was in Grand Hotel, but I might still be confused. Oh,
Oh man, missed opportunity. If he was in Grand Hotel, Wes Anderson should have found a way to put Drew in the Grand Budapest Hotel.
that would have been. I could see '90s Drew Barrymore playing Saoirse Ronan's part pretty easily.
Yeah.
I'm having to fact check here because Joe's saying, "Hi Popcast team, very curious to see what your Oscar predictions will look like without Bardo. Love the way that Ashley screamed the title in the first predictions video for the season. One, it was Owen that was doing that, not me. And secondly, Bardo. Uh, recent first time watches for Josephine, stay tuned.
No.
King Ralph, Hearts and Souls, Streets of Fire, Little Children, and Little Man What Now?
What's that last thing?
Little Man What Now from 1934.
Oh, I have no idea what that is. That's a really fun lineup, though. I mean, it's it's a fun lineup, and there's little children.
Oh,
Little children's not fun, but
it's a German drama film, an adaptation of a novel of the same name by Hans Verlade. Um, there was a Little Man. What? Oh, hang on. Oh, the 1934 one, the American remake. Yeah, Douglas Montgomery, Margaret Sullivan, Alan Hale, directed by Frank Borzage or Borzage.
oh wow, okay.
I like the fact that the Wikipedia is that it's a box office disappointment. Once again, proving that American remakes of foreign films sometimes don't go well, even in 1934.
Yeah, because he was all over that director was all over the Oscars in that time period, in the early period.
Script was written by William Anthony Maguire from Great Siegfried and Kid from Spain and Three Musketeers, and even that. Wow, died of uremia, so too much urea in his blood at the age of only 59 in 1940. He's even got an Internet Broadway database. Is the Internet database for everything, damn it. Fun facts on King Ralph: the script was originally written with Bill Murray in mind. Makes sense.
I feel like that movie was made for Goodman.
Also, Peter O'Toole played British monarchy Henry II in Beckett and The Lion in Winter in '68.
Yeah, King Ralph was my introduction to Peter O'Toole and John Hurt. I don't know what that says about me.
Wow. Considering, like, with John Hurt, I'd make sense because of kid stuff, but I'd have thought Lawrence of Arabia would be considered kid friendly. What's New Pussycat? Maybe not. Maybe Casino Royale, even though that's one of the weirdest cameos in lots of films ever that nobody will get if they don't know what's New Pussycat. And Amy Madigan, who was in Streets of Fire and Uncle Buck, had been married to Ed Harris since 1984. Wow, so that's nearly 40 years. Blimey. Bryce says one more thing to mention about one of the contenders that none of us went big, but Owen did. One of the stars of Triangle of Sadness, Charles B. Dean, on the day of our podcast stream. Oh, I guess that they passed. The news didn't break until hours later.
I heard that she was a standout too, which is interesting. Like I guess people came out of Cannes saying like, "Oh, she's going to be the next big thing," and then this happened.
Josephine says, "I told you all with Banshees getting glowing reviews from Venice. I think Searchlight could switch their priorities." I mean, I don't want to go just on the exasperated faces that Chris Pine was making at the press conference today, where it seemed like he didn't want to be there. To be fair, I honestly think they were leading with Banshees anyway. Because as soon as I saw the trailer and it just seemed very Stepford Wives, I figured people could turn against it. Because they'd go, but it's not the Stepford Wives. Speaking of Searchlight, Little Miss Sunshine's on TV right now. The Jesus Was Wrong shirt that Paul Dano wears is maybe something Riddler should wear in Batman sequence.
I just rewatched Little Miss Sunshine last month, and I am so in love with that movie.
It still stands up. It still stands up. We'll have to see what Tiff says because we don't want to get AJ's hopes up. I guess that's with Banshees. I mean, we'll see. Banshees looks promising.
It could also be about Glass Onion.
I also like the fact that the one review I saw would just called it a Guinness black comedy. It's that black. It's the pureness of Irish style. because it's that Irish. It's funny seeing Bryan Cranston in Little Miss Sunshine, especially since the family's hometown is Albuquerque.
Again, the motorcycle cop is Dean Norris,
Yeah,
and that was 2 years before Breaking Bad started.
I can see a world where Netflix doesn't have a movie nominated for Best Picture this year. I mean, it's happened to some studios sometimes. Yeah, mostly Paramount.
Hopefully Paramount does well this year. They've got the best movie they could possibly have.
I mean,
I thought Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe was good, but I don't know if it's the best movie they have.
Fire! Fire in the comments! Fire!
You're on your A game today, Beavis.
Have you watched any of the new show yet?
No.
It's worth it.
I wonder how similar or different the Bardo reviews would have been had it. Go ahead.
Speaking of awards, I want to throw a quick shout out to somebody that finally got something that's well deserved for a while. Congratulations to Nathan Lane on finally nabbing an Emmy.
Wow, yeah. The big thing, obviously,
Good for him.
over here. The big thing over here was Adele getting her Emmy for her TV special, and her whole thing is, I finally have an ego. I have physical proof I have an ego. Now I'm just trying to work out how she's getting the tea.
They always find a way.
Yeah.
Work it out.
I wonder how similar or different the Bardo reviews would have been had it not been for the spreading of the on-set death rumours. It seems like critics had their knives out for that reason. And I like the fact that Briars said, "You didn't intend the pun on Knives Out, did you?" Hello to Cassie, if she's still here. Okay, buy one, rent one, lose one. Back to School edition, but pre-2010s. So obviously no Booksmart or anything like that. We got. It just says Angus.
Yeah.
Is that the Angus Fongs and Perfect Snogging one?
No, it's from 1995. It's yeah.
For C. Scott.
Well, I guess what I'm putting in my lose one. Ernest Goes to School, Encino Man.
That's a shame. You should watch Angus because you'll reevaluate that answer.
Well, the fact that I thought it was Angus Fongs and Perfect Snogging tells you everything.
That Angus might make a future movie club.
It might. Encino.
Yeah,
Hang on. Angus, Ernest Goes to School, Encino Man, School Ties, Welcome to the Dollhouse, Half Nelson, Ghost World, Brick, Juice from '92, Doug's First Movie, Max Keeble's Big Move, First Kid, Cooley High, Kindergarten Cop, Sky High, and Art School Confidential.
Oh man, they threw Sky High in there. There's the wrench.
Yeah.
This is hard. I think Ernest Goes to School has to go. Because that was like one of the worst ones.
Yeah, I do. In all honesty, I don't. I remember like a couple of the Ernest ones, like being okay, but the rest of them were, So I was just hedging my bets on it probably being rubbish.
Yes, I think Ernest Goes to School was around the time they started going straight to video.
Yeah. I'd buy Ghost World and rent Brick. Not to throw any shade on like Sky High, because I know that's got a big fan base. But I just feel that Sky High at times feels a bit too High School Musical, and I got burned by that, like seeing too much.
Well, I think I'm gonna buy Encino Man. And I'll rent Sky High, and then I'll ditch Ernest Goes to School.
Josephine
I'm
also
getting
mentions Blackboard Jungle, whether that sways thoughts or anything.
nice, nice. That would probably be at least in my top two. In the true fashion of myself, I'm gonna need the list one more time.
Angus, I won't even bother with Ernest Goes to School. Angus, Encino Man, School Ties, Welcome to the Dollhouse, Half Nelson, Ghost World, Brick, Juice from '92. I like the fact it says Brick 2005. I only know that Brick. Well done, Rian Johnson. Doug's first movie, Max Keeble's Big Move, First Kid, Cooley High, Kindergarten Cop, Sky High, and Art School Confidential, and Blackboard Jungle.
I would say Doug's first movie is probably the first movie since Terminator 2 where I felt sorry for a robot.
I would say an interchangeable top two, if I can cheat, would be Blackboard Jungle and Welcome to the Dollhouse. But there's a lot of comedies in there I love. We, last month when I was at your place, we rewatched Max Keeble's Big Move. And it's still it's so cheesy 2000 Nickelodeon movie, but it's also still a laugh riot, mainly due to Larry Miller. Larry Miller has this gift of being able to embrace whatever project he's working on as much as he possibly can, and he will give everything.
You should watch the episode of Monk where he's framed for murder because Larry Miller plays his incompetent injury lawyer.
And I assume he gives 100% as he always does.
110.
This is an interesting one. From Spencer. Favorite Romeo and Juliet?
Are we talking actors or movies?
Movies.
And are we talking straight up or like a reimagining?
I mean,
I was gonna say I gotta be honest with you. I think either way, my answer's the Lerman one actually. It's so creative what they did with that movie. And you
Can we
can say it's
do
maybe,
can we do the Lerman interpretation from Hot Fuzz?
but one of the best jokes in a comedy ever, by the way. Going to a Shakespeare play and it's the fucking Lerman version.
God, I love Hot Fuzz so much.
I mean, obviously, Tromeo and Juliet could be considered one, and of course, Nomeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I'd probably go with Zeffirelli's one from '68, though.
Yeah, that was my second choice.
If just for Olivier's like first speech, I was like, oh, I need to pay attention. I do like the fact though that there was one in '53 that came out in Argentina, and then there was a British-Italian one in '54, and then a ballet film from Russia in '55, and then they gave up for a decade, and then here comes Zeffirelli.
Yeah, because was it Norma Shearer and Leslie Howard in 36?
Yes.
I love both of them, but that was such a miscast. And the Haley Steinfeld one is
Considering it's a Julian Fellows script, I expected better.
yeah.
In all honesty.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes
maybe he was too focused on Downton.
Yeah, when it comes to just creativity and even really casting, the Lerman movie is like, it's just great. I recently saw it described as surreal. That's definitely apt. So yeah, I think I'll stand by Lerman. Actually,
If I remember, is Lerman the one where Paul Rudd plays Paris?
yes. And also you talk about like Romeo and Juliet and stuff like that. Leguizamo is amazing in it.
I mean, it isn't listed here, but I did like Warm Bodies.
Oh yeah,
It's not listed there, even though it is.
yeah. It's like halfway through the movie, you're like, wait a minute, this is. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's actually Camp Rock 2 is listed as a Romeo and Juliet. Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
are we also counting West Side Story?
Oh God. Which one?
Yeah, yeah,
And then Romeo Must Die, and sort of Shakespeare in Love,
no.
I guess, and
Yeah,
Lion King 2. I'm looking at this list now. I'm like, my God, the rabbit hole.
If we're counting West Side Story, I'd have to say the original West Side Story, then Lerman.
um, Thoughts on the animated Hobbit and Lord of the Rings films? I'm trying to remember the Hobbit one. I
I
know.
assume they're talking about the Bakshi versions.
I mean, probably.
The
I
one,
mean, I remember the Lord of the Rings one because that often sort of does show up in shops and people get confused, even though, like, they're actually good. Yeah,
did you?
was was Hobbit I mean, it came over here maybe as a movie, at least on home media, but it says here it was a TV movie.
Brother, did you watch the? Because you and I went to the same elementary school, and we had the same library. When we had that library class in elementary school, did you watch the Hobbit animated movie?
I don't believe so.
We watched it partially. I don't remember if we ever finished it, and I don't know if I've seen it since. I don't think I have seen the animated Lord of the Rings movie.
Oh
Come to think
wow.
of it, like I've known
For
for
you, it's
forever that
the
it
other
exists.
way around. For me, it's like I didn't know there was a Hobbit one. Um, Lord of the Rings was good. Um,
Yeah, we definitely watched The Hobbit in school. I don't think I ever saw the Lord of the Rings one, and
John
my
Hurt as Aragorn. Yes. Um, Anthony Daniels as Legolas. Really? I forgot he was a voice in that.
Frodo, where are you?
Gimli, why have you turned into a robot? Um, because Bilbo is essentially a scholar, he could teach the Silmarillion and the Tales of Middle-earth would be granted tenure immediately. What would the schools in Middle-earth be called? I'd say Middle-earth K-12 Academy and the University of Middle-earth. Um, I'd have to say like something stupid like Mordor College Shire or something stupid.
I feel like Mordor would be like a university, and like the Shire would be like a community college.
No, Shire would be the kindergarten.
Oh man.
No, but it's like there's a lot of green space, so it's safe for the kids.
I mean,
If you
if
go
Bilbo's
anywhere
making
else,
faces like if Bilbo's making faces like when Ian Holm made that face when he saw the ring, those kids will piss their pants and learn nothing.
fun dog trivia.
That face,
This is
to
what I'm
this
here for.
to this day, that face freaks me out. To this day.
Sorry, I'm here. We got dog trivia. This is the important shit. Constance Shulman, the voice of Patty Mayonnaise, is married to Reed Birney. And then Chris Phillips, who voices Roger in this incarnation, ironically also worked for Nickelodeon around the time, providing the voice of the Nick Jr. face and the main announcer for Nick itself.
Wild.
But
It
he didn't do the Nick that I get every time when I play Search for Reptar on PS1. I don't know why. I just do. It's an average platformer,
Oh,
but
wow.
it's just there.
I totally remember that game. I remember that game vividly, actually.
Like the hard ones were, at one point the hard ones were too hard, and then like one of the medium ones, I'm like, this is not medium, this is hard. um, Josephine says, besides Bardo, when were you the most shocked over hearing bad reviews for a film? For me, it was probably the first Suicide Squad back in 06. Ooh. I can't think of like historically, like really, like back in the day. Most recently, probably Mortal Engines, because I thought Peter Jackson was good at films. That's probably been his only sort of bleak point in the past, what, 25, 30 years?
I have an obvious answer, and I've talked before about how it's a movie that I don't really want to harp on because everybody else does, and it's old at this point. But I don't know that I can say I was shocked by the early reviews of Cats. It's to the extent that was surprising.
Yeah. No, I certainly see that.
If you had told me Tom Hooper's Cats was going to get bad reviews, that would have been one thing. But if you had told me Tom Hooper's Cats would be considered probably one of the worst movies of all time, that would have been surprising at the time.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, Spencer says, I was shocked when American Pastoral had negative reviews. I still defend it. And then
Yeah, I remember saying he really took to it. I didn't get anything out of it, but I wouldn't mind revisiting it at some point, just out of respect for Ewan McGregor, which I have a lot of.
interesting one that
I
definitely
remember. I remember as a kid. I remember it being very surprising how much hate the Phantom Menace got.
Yeah, because we were in the age group where it was the best thing ever, and we just got lost in the hype machine. And
And I know it's not the best Star Wars movie, but honestly, I enjoy Episode 1 for a nostalgic trip.
Yeah, and it's got some really good acting. The pod race is still amazing, and the Darth Maul fight is still amazing. And Liam Neeson's really good in it.
I will go on record and say that I think that the Darth Maul fight is the best lightsaber duel in Star Wars, and I'll fight anybody on that.
You might have some people that fight you and say the end of Revenge of the Sith, but I'm probably more. I almost feel like the fight in Revenge of the Sith is too elaborate.
Yeah.
Like it's too showy.
I'd say in retrospect as well, maybe Last Jedi surprised me. Because I appreciate what it was trying to do. And then I love the sort of double standards of, oh, it's different, we don't want different. And then when Rise of Skywalker does sort of the same, they're going like, but we don't want the same. It's like, which do you want?
I mean, I think, and I prepared to hate me. I'll take the blow on this one. I think Star Wars fans know what they like about as much as wrestling fans know what they like, and I say that as a wrestling fan.
I like pay-per-views getting overshadowed by press conferences afterwards. Happened twice this week. Have a long WWE show, and it gets overshadowed by Roman showing up to his press conference and just going, "Acknowledge me," and then walking out. Brilliant. 5-second promo.
If I'm right about Brendan Fraser getting a good spot in SAG and missing the Oscars, I will start the next video after that saying "Acknowledge me."
We'll have to acknowledge you in a minute, because this is all in our wheelhouses. Favorite Pierce Brosnan Bond film?
GoldenEye.
It's GoldenEye.
Yeah, I was to say.
But
I honestly I like Brosnan's movies in the order they came out.
yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies is underrated.
Yeah.
Agreed. And Jonathan Pryce is a great villain.
Yes.
I like World Is Not Enough, but the problem is it doesn't do what it should have done and have Sophie Marceau just be the villain. We have to find some way to get Renard involved.
Yeah, and it's a significantly less interesting movie when you know the twist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not. It feels like there's nothing to it for a while when you know the twist.
I do love it for giving us more Robbie Coltrane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the random sort of semi cameo from Goldie. Like, what was that?
So what we're really saying is basically fuck Die Another Day, I guess. But I still remember. I remember Die Another Day still being fun when it was out.
Yeah.
But and I feel like when I last rewatched it, which I think was in preparation for our big Bond video we did a few years back, I remember not hating Die Another Day. It's just like kind of its own thing.
Josephine says, good question, especially since Halle Berry, who's in Cloud Atlases and Die Another Day. Don't remind me. Jinx only exists because they want to do part Ursula Andress, part Charlie's Angels. That's the only reason that's there.
I want another villain like I know the movie's not very well liked. I like the movie. I want another villain like Grace Jones in A View to a Kill.
Yeah. Where it's like where she's essentially not to like the extent of the greatness, but almost a female Red Grant of sorts.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I want another Red Grant. I want somebody that is like the sub boss, actually truly being sort of like the final boss, rather than the one that actually does want to take over the world.
And see, the thing is, I think this is one of the reasons that Spectre lets me down. Is I could see Batista have filling that role.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact when he came back and then they just got rid of him, like, oh great.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did a large explosion in the desert.
I think the idea on paper of Batista being a Bond villain is awesome. I just wish we would have got more.
The thing is another, like, obviously Robert Shaw is like, you could probably say the high point of From Russia with Love, but what also I think helps a lot is that just From Russia with Love itself is amazing.
If you watch that documentary that comes like on the DVD or the Blu-ray, and you see what the hell Peter Hunt had to do to make it even like what it was, you know why he got the gig for On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Connery said that From Russia with Love was his favorite Bond movie that he did.
I mean,
that would make sense.
It makes sense because arguably it was the least showy.
Mm-hmm.
It was the more like a traditional spy thing. It's the closest Bond ever got to Ipcris, which I only make the comparison because, of course, Saltzman did, produced it as well, and it's got a very sort of similar sort of Cold War attributes to it.
And the fact that while most Bond movies now are focused on the action, I think what I really love about From Russia with Love is while it feels like a classic spy movie, the whole sequence on the train feels like a thriller, and I love that so much.
I love some of the old classic tropes too. Like the Bond girl takes like one hit to the face and she's out for the fight.
Sorry.
And there's a lot of stuff in From Russia with Love with her that wouldn't work today.
Yeah.
Like I believe it's that movie where he tells her, "Be quiet, men are talking." I believe that came from Russia with Love.
And obviously we wouldn't have a giant thing. It'd just be like, a Samsung phone that's secretly filming the stuff or something. Oh, I know we're definitely... Sorry, I'm just establishing this an hour and 42 minutes in, but I've got to the comment where Bry's saying, "There's the yak!" If it wasn't for the yak last year, I think the meme last year would have been the line from Power of the Dog, "Because she was drunk!" I love the fact you will get the debut when we do the September predictions. I will get a screenshot of this donkey that's in Banshees of Inisherin, and that's going to be the new animal of choice for 2022.
I love that it's a repeat of a donkey.
Yes, it's just the charm of the donkey, the much maligned. Speaking of Malig, Josephine says that Because She Was Drunk scene is one of the best scenes of the season in their fictional Oscars, tied with the jail scene from *Malignant*.
It's funny you say that. It took me a while. I'm stocking up to have a horror marathon in October, and just yesterday my copy of *Malignant* got here.
Oh,
So that reference is perfectly timed. I don't know. There's still some well, it was obviously disappointing coming from one. I don't know. *Malignant* is just crazy enough that it still works for me.
AJ, are you going to go watch Trick or Treat when it comes out theatrically?
I really want to, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near here. I did just learn right here in town we are getting Clerks 3.
Mm-hmm.
As are we. My local multiplex is actually showing it from Tuesday next week. I don't know why. I also am surprised that they're also putting Crimes of the Future on, considering all the other cinemas near me don't want to acknowledge that exists, yet they still want to put out Thor: Love and Thunder, despite, I don't know, it's going to be free on Disney+. So, nobody's going to be watching it.
We're also getting, for the last 4 days of October, they are re-releasing Romero's Dawn of the Dead in 3D. That's coming here as well.
I like the fact as well they're doing IMAX 2D this coming week of Jaws and 3D. They didn't bother to do IMAX 3D and cover all bases. It's just you can get it high def or 3D, not both. That is impossible. I'm also surprised that my multiplex has got... I guess it shows to show you how barren September's become. You can pre-order Moon Age Daydream, the Bowie documentary, in IMAX. What the fuck? I mean, I'm liking it. Probably the tickets will be too much for me to see it, but whatever. Sadie Sink and Claire Foy have the same birthday, April 16th. If they're both nominated, we'll have two Aries the same birthday nominated for Best Actress. And Rooney Mara's birthday's on April 17th. So many.
Mine's on the 14th. Maybe I'm due for some awards.
Are you also in Women Talking? That would be...
Acknowledge me.
Yes. Acknowledge me.
When the Rail reviews were being released, there was a Mummy marathon. Speaking of Mummy, favorite Rachel Weisz performance. The favorite.
Yeah, I don't have many, but the favorite was one of the few that I liked. So
The favorite, and to some extent, Constant Gardener, I'd say as well.
I've been meaning to rewatch my copy of it's right here. I got this copy of The Constant Gardener because I was like, I'm gonna rewatch this thing. I probably had this for about 9 years now. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Knowing AJ, knowing how you feel about the movie, would you say that you liked Rachel Weisz in Oz?
Yeah, I guess so. She was just the right amount of cheesy, I guess you could say. In the way she balanced like Michelle Williams' sweetness, there was something there.
Say hello, Lenny. For those watching, this is Lenny. Hi, Lenny.
So yeah, how about a Knives Out Mummy crossover Mystery of the Mummy? I think you'll find that was a Doctor Who episode called Mummy on the Orient Express, which was actually pretty damn good.
It's interesting. That's weirdly specific to that question.
I mean, it's not as it seems and whatever, but it's also very wittily done. The concept is the mummy can only be seen in the 3 minutes before you're about to die, as it's about to kill you.
That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's as a standalone sort of like 45-50 minute episode, it's really good. The concept could have been put into something like a feature film or whatever, but that ain't gonna happen with Doctor Who. I mean, it did, and we're getting 4K re-releases of them right now, so I appreciate it. Even though they're just rip-offs of old Doctor Who stories off for television. So, Josephine watched Little Children in preparation for Tar. Was really impressed. Chilling and humanistic satire of suburban life. Todd's good at that stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious if Josie has seen In the Bedroom as well. I'm assuming so, if that was in preparation for Tar.
If you want to put that in the comments, I'll allow you to write underneath the line, because everybody's been so polite. Oh, hang on. Bry's writing under the line. Thanks, Bry. I'm making sure that chat just hasn't died. Right. Tom Perrotta, who wrote the Little Children novel and co-wrote the screenplay, also wrote the novels of Election and The Leftovers. It doesn't seem like the person that wrote Little Children also wrote Election. I mean, okay, it's not the screenplay and whatever, but I wouldn't have thought the adaptations were too different in terms of genre. So, Jackie O. Haley's performance is excellent. Even though I defend Alan Arkin's win, I wouldn't have minded Jackie O. Haley getting the win. Yeah,
those are pretty much words directly from my mind. Up to and including the defending Arkin.
What are your thoughts on Jackie O. Haley as an actor?
I love him. He's way, way too underutilized. I remember being really happy with the way they utilized him in the first season of Preacher. Because it was like, how does TV know how to use Jackie O. Haley and movies don't?
I feel like Watchmen should have made him a star.
Yeah, even more so after his takeoff in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
To some extent, I would say unlucky, because, like, you know, he does like stuff like Little Children, but then he's also like he does semi-pro, which I completely forgot he was in, and then
he's far and away the best part of that movie.
Yeah. But then also like that sort of small bit in Shutter Island, that
Yeah.
nobody focuses on. Something that I think he gets very maligned for, which isn't his fault, the Elm Street remake.
Yeah.
Taking that in a, I appreciate what he did with it and whatever. I completely forgot he was in Dark Shadows because it's all about Johnny Depp, isn't it? And then he's
Yeah,
got
that movie has such an ensemble. It was like half of them weren't even there.
and then he's got a bit
I
in
think there's
bit
isn't
in.
there isn't there a point in time? Isn't there a point in time in Dark Shadows where Johnny Lee Miller just literally packs his bags and leaves?
I think so. Yeah, it rings a
I
bell.
feel like that was symbolic.
And then he had the little bits in Dark Tower and Alita Battle Angel and London Has Fallen and RoboCop. So it's like ever since Lincoln, he sort of like really hasn't done anything major, at least in film. Um,
Yeah, they weren't calling him that, but he could have essentially been Clarence in the RoboCop remake. But instead, they just kind of made him a generic henchman, and it was like, dude, you had all your resources there. Like what? Like he's right there. Use him.
I'm trying to remember which character it is that I see here listed. Yeah, he was the sort of he was the voice of the weird antagonist in the Evil Within video game, which is the closest that considering it is from the maker of the Resident Evil games. He did a really good performance in that, but nobody probably knows that because I still think Evil Within is not as well known, and what they did with Evil Within 2 was sort of weird in itself. Josephine also says camera work and editing in the pool sequence in Little Children is superb.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember who did the editing for that. Was it anybody like big? I don't think it was anybody big. It doesn't seem like Todd would work with like big names. Let me just check. Well, he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Antonio Calvache. Here we go. Chris, pick up your ears. Spencer asks, who are you cheering for in Big Brother this season?
Gameplay wise, I'm pulling for Michael. Michael's about to break the competition record. He's going to have to win the season. But soft spot wise, who I'm rooting for, I really like Taylor. I think Taylor had a rough go of it first couple weeks. A lot of things unjustly happened to her, and I feel like that her winning would be the perfect karma for the people that put her in that position.
Josephine says now, knowing the movie election pretty well, I noticed the voice, if you will. I don't know why I did that in a dusty accent. It's just part of Tom Perrotta in Little Children with the satirical elements. Vera Farmiga was the original choice for the role of Kate Winslet's character of Sarah Pierce. But of course, her and Wilson paired up anyway with the Conjuring franchise a few years later. Fassbender.
Actually,
oh, go ahead.
That role is pretty Winslet in itself, but I could see that's one of those cases that would be interesting because usually when you imagine somebody else in the role, you just kind of imagine the same performance. I feel like Vera Farmiga in that role would not have been the same performance at all, which would be very interesting. I'm not quite sure how else to articulate that, but hopefully.
No, I see what you mean, yeah. I mean, maybe just because of like her sort of Bates Motel and sort of Conjuring stuff, you feel like she could do a more sort of like, I don't want to say sinister, but like a much more troubled portrayal than Winslet being Winslet.
Yeah, because Vera Farmiga's got a nice range. She's in a movie that's like this light romance movie with Andy Garcia called At Middleton, and it's like the sweetest movie ever, and her performance matches that. And then it's like compare that to the darkness that she's capable of. I feel like she, despite being an Oscar-nominated actress that is in some pretty big movies, I feel like she still gets overlooked for just how good she can be, and a lot of that probably has to do with like ending up in the part she does in like the Godzilla movies and stuff like that. Like, don't really show her off as what she's capable of, but it was still kind of fun to see her be like the cause of the havoc in a movie as big as that. But I still think she can actually go kind of overlooked as far as what all she's capable of, which is tragic.
Yeah. Fassbender and Idris Elba. I like the fact that I can just say Fassbender and everybody knows because nobody else decided to use that name yet. Fassbender and Idris Elba were considered for the role of Patrick Wilson's Brad. Yeah, that's feasible. It's also feasible because Idris Elba doesn't have great luck in picking a lot of his roles, to be fair.
Elba would have been very interesting. I don't. There's been times where I love Fassbender. There's also been a lot of times where I thought Fassbender was just lifeless. And it's like he's one of those people where it felt like he was being considered for things just for the sake of it, and not necessarily that he fit a certain part or could have done a certain part well, like elevated it in his own way. And I have mixed feelings with Fassbender.
With you saying that, I feel like Fassbender could have been what Benedict Cumberbatch is.
That sounds right. I could easily see back in the day Fassbender doing the part in Power of the Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was like 10 years earlier or something.
I mean, it obviously it's not the same role, but it does feel sort of in the way it's shot and everything. Cumberbatch's Power of the Dog seems very similar to the role that Fassbender has in 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah,
This
is that maybe what I'm thinking
untrustworthy
of?
sort of. I mean, untrustworthy man with hat.
Yeah, because it's like because you look at honestly, I wonder if we're just looking at another Daniel Craig situation because you look at Frank, and it's like maybe Fassbender's calling is like offbeat comedies or something, and he's just kind of been getting put in the wrong place all this time.
I mean, he seems to just like racing a driving car at them, driving a racing car at the minute. Get the words the right way around. I'm trying to see if he's actually doing anything. Fassbender filmography. If he's doing stuff in and around his. There we go. Kung Fury 2. Okay.
Isn't he still are he and Alicia Vikander still married? Because I can understand if he just wants to just stop doing anything and just be married to Alicia Vikander. That'd be a good life for anybody.
I love the fact you say that, and then it says next film, currently filming, American neo-noir action thriller The Killer, directed by David Fincher. So no, he's not.
Oh.
And written by Andrew Kevin Walker,
Oh shit!
the guy behind Seven.
Okay.
And it's Tilda Swinton's with it with Fassbender as well. So that already seems. Filming actually wrapped in March. Correct the Wikipedia page there.
Oh, nice. So we're like actually getting this. Every time we hear Fincher's name, I'm like, are we getting this or are we not getting this?
He was dated to. Oh, hang on, no. There we go. Vikander. Yeah, they later moved to Portugal where they live in Lisbon. They have a son born last year. So him and Vikander are, still a thing. Just about, probably. Well, I'll wait and we're going to call it now. Somehow it's going to break up. because they always seem to do, just randomly, annoyingly. Um, when Ronnie goes on a date with Sheila, she mentions being like her sisters and having lots of kids. In Todd Solondz's movie Happiness, she plays an unlucky unlucky in love woman with sisters with kids. The same character, pretty much. Happiness and Little Children would make a great double feature.
Yeah, I can totally see
Yeah.
that.
The narrator for Little Children is Will Lyman. His distinctive voice is often heard on Frontline, a documentary show where his narration is similar to that heard on the film. And screenwriter Bo Goldman is Todd Field's father-in-law. He wrote the Meet Joe Black screenplay, Scent of a Woman, Shoot the Moon, Melvin and Howard, and the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh. Favorite mall scene in a movie? If we're being exact, Dawn of the Dead, because I think of a lot of the stuff in that just works. But also, if we're being pernickety, because there aren't that many things that you consider malls over here, like shopping centres, I'm like totally tweaking at this, and either the comic, either of the scenes in the blooming supermarket in either Dead Right or Hot Fuzz. They are so much fun.
Well, if we're bringing supermarkets in, 28 Days Later comes to mind.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like more stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, there's also the entirety of Mallrats.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there is that point where they go to the flea market, so most of Mallrats.
Uh,
A lot of movies set in malls suck. I'm
yeah.
realizing that.
I'm just trying to think of like. Hang on. I'll do it the traditional way. Movies set in malls.
If we're talking about individual scenes, I guess we could go into the scene where Leota beats the shit out of Rogan in Observer Report.
I mean, I'm looking at this and I see Pretty Woman.
Bad Santa's got some great stuff that goes down at the mall.
Yeah.
Oh shit, of course.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Mean Girls. Obviously, why did I never think of this? Back to the Future. That was a big plot point at the mall.
Yeah, but I could see why it got overlooked because they didn't actually go in the mall.
And then Police Story as well. Jackie Chan being Jackie Chan.
Hey, you know what's not a contender here? Fucking Wonder Woman 84.
I thought
you know what I will put as
I thought you were going to say Paul Blart.
Contender? I love the mall scene. I love the mall scene in Commando. When he swings on the giant streamer.
Oh.
And he throws the phone booth. That's really funny.
Yeah, and while we're on Schwarzenegger, might as well bring up the opening scene of Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah.
That's a pretty killer opening for that movie when he's just stalking Chris around the mall.
And one that's only listed in here is 10 malls from movies that you can visit in real life. The part of Jackie Brown where it's all about the exchange of the stuff in the mall.
That's probably the real answer.
He's really well done. Just for like Fonda being off camera and De Niro just shooting the shit out of her in the car park. Shut up.
See, the van's exactly where I said it was.
Bry is asking what's Owen's movie club pick for his birthday. Hopefully you'll find out tomorrow if he can make it, or whether he's going to be suspicious.
He said he wanted us to announce it at the end if he doesn't show up.
Right.
Because we were doing it for this video.
Yeah.
But if he does show up, then he will announce it. I don't know if I assume he meant show up in the chat. I am not
I don't
sure.
know. We'll see if he's watching.
Because I noticed he popped into Discord for like a second and then he vanished. I wasn't sure what that was.
I haven't seen any other messages about anything to do with that. Amazingly, I'm cutting this like we might be going less than 3 hours, everybody. I cut it at the right time. Oh, maybe not. Where does it go? Where am I? There we go. I want a spoof of personal/autobiographical films by directors called Not Another Autobiography, or as Spencer says, Not Another Oscar Biopic.
It'd be fun to write. I wouldn't be sure exactly what to go after.
So are we doing like our own version of like Walk Hard, or is it about an actual person? Or?
I know you probably won't have seen the trailer, even though it's hard to avoid it, at least for me. The closest I can think is actually doing that is Weird the Al Yankovic story. Because I don't know whether he did fuck Madonna. But it just seems it could have happened, so I don't know.
Yeah, to my understanding, it is in pure Weird Al fashion. His, in quotes, biopic is also just a parody, like his music is.
Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, I know because it's personal autobiographical films. I guess like stuff like Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping doesn't really count, or Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, but they're like the best sort of like not just pastiches on the person that they're playing, but pastiches of the genre of film that they're making in itself.
Yeah, because I assume we're talking about stuff like Roma and Belfast and stuff like that.
Maybe Fabelmans.
Crooklyn for Spike Lee. Yeah, I'm not sure how you'd approach that. Because there's so many of them, but it also feels like something that's so specific.
Josephine says, I watched one of these fixer-upper shows with a friend of mine today. I had the thought that Jordan Peele could make a great horror movie about a haunted HGTV makeover.
Well, there's definitely some satire to be had there, because why do people get addicted to those shows? That's something I've always wondered about. The idea of seeing people say, like, oh, hey, we're just normal people, and we've got about $500,000 to work with and do whatever we're going to do to this place. It's like I don't really get the appeal.
Part of me feels
not to get back on my soapbox, but apparently those addictions are what is part of the death of the Warner Brothers stuff on HBO Max.
Yep.
The thing is, I could foresee that style, maybe not Jordan Peele, but that style thing with Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart. Sort of like combination of Mother with like the house getting sort of renovated and whatever. But then
That's
like
like,
there's always this like
I feel like now we're in poltergeist territory. The idea of moving a cemetery, but just moving the tombstones.
we need some decking. We need some decking. Fuck the ancient Indian burial field. Oh, the decking's being ruined by the zombies. My God. Spencer also says, I had a dream Jordan Peele did a killer clown film. We live in a world where the people behind the Friday the 13th video game are now going to be doing a Killer Clowns from Outer Space video game. Mainly because they lost the rights to the Friday the 13th one, because that's a mess in itself.
I could realistically see a Killer Clowns movie that gets the Candyman treatment, where it's advertised as a Peele movie, but Peele like wrote and produced it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of psyched about this thing with Peele and Henry Selick that's coming out. That seems like a match made in heaven.
I think that's coming. It's showing at Toronto, I think.
Brother, were you here when we talked about it before, or was that the last one?
I think that was the last one.
Because you're aware of Henry Selick, right?
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, right?
Yeah, his new movie is written by Peele.
Oh.
Now, let me get the details of it again. Wendell and Wild.
Yeah.
It's going to be on Netflix. But unsurprisingly, Key and Peele are the two leads. But we got some Angela Bassett, we got some Ving Rhames, Lyric Ross, James Hong, Tamara Smart. A lot of interesting stuff. Yeah, debuts at TIFF September 11th, cinemas October 21st, outright on Netflix October 28th. Just in time for Halloween. Yeah, Selick's first film since Coraline. That's why I like Coraline so much. I forget that I know of The Nightmare Before Christmas and James the Giant Peach. But not. I completely forget Coraline. Next bit. Spencer asks thoughts on Jason Robards. I'm annoyed I only caught him late. Because the first thing I do remember seeing him in, like actually seeing the name Jason Robards, was Magnolia. And it was only the few years after that, you had Philadelphia and Melvin and Howard and All the President's Men. And Once Upon a Time as well.
He was also in like this nice little made-for-TV Christmas movie whose name escapes me. I have a DVD of it over there, but I can't see it from here.
I'm trying to look for made-for-TV stuff. Was it like 80s or 90s or?
I'm thinking 80s.
There's a film called The Christmas Wife. That's.
I don't think that's it.
Hang on, Jason Robards Christmas.
I think what I like the most about him is the way he can go back and forth between being really warmth and then being really like authoritative and powerful. And so sometimes at the same time.
Okay, so there's a one in 72 called The House Without a Christmas Tree.
Oh shit, that's 72.
Yeah.
It's that good? Oh yeah, that's the one.
It's 50th anniversary in December.
Wow, it looks 80s. That's kind of impressive.
Videotape production was seen regularly on CBS between 72 and 77. And thankfully, it says 75 minutes, but I love the fact I searched it and it's on YouTube. On the Christmas channel. Who knew? Also, I appreciate the fact that we get tortured over here because there is already a Christmas channel over here on the television playing Christmas things. It's September! Actually, I think it debuted like in August, so it was like, it's not even autumn yet, and you got Christmas stuff on. The hell? Which are two horror villains you want to interact in a movie? Like Freddy versus Jason. I mean, that was going to be what I was thinking anyway. It was going to be some sort of like head-to-head sort of thing.
Pennywise and the Blob.
Care to elaborate on that?
Well, not so much Pennywise, but like it.
Mm-hmm.
The Deadlights versus the Blob. How would that work out? Can the Blob be affected by the Deadlights, or is it just humans? Because the Blob is technically alive.
I'll go with Michael Myers and Leatherface.
That'd be especially interesting since Michael is so slow and Leatherface runs.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I still feel like there's... Because I can't imagine... Michael's too far gone. He's not going to see Leatherface and run the other way. He's gonna come forward and see what he can do.
I just want it to amount to a fencing match between a butcher's knife and a chainsaw.
Well, that's wild.
It could be like I'm gonna take it a step further. I want the two of them in a fight similar to the Mustafar fight in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, wait a minute. So are we having... Now, is this Carpenter Myers, Zombie Myers, or David Gordon Green Myers, or one of the weird in-between Spirit Halloween mask ones from, like, the middle era?
I'm gonna say original. 78.
Yeah,
and then you can have, and then if it's your pleasure, you can have a Yoda type entrance from either Chucky or the Leprechaun.
I almost wanted to say, oh, definitely the Leprechaun, but am I just thinking green? Is that why I said that so quickly?
Imagine Chucky doing like the Yoda flips with his knife with like Brad Dourif's yell.
Yeah, because Warwick Davis already has Star Wars experience. Quite a bit of experience. Yeah, I do like the Brad Dourif yell coming in. That's great.
Somebody that's good at Photoshop with videos, please edit that.
Francis Dollarhide from whichever version
I would say Noonan for me.
versus John Doe from 7.
Ooh.
I feel the
Ooh,
police.
I feel like I need a therapist just thinking about
the
that.
police having to solve two different serial killers, but at the same time, the serial killers like trying to one up each other.
I would love to see. Speaking of therapists, I would love to see a sit-down session between Hannibal Lecter and Norman Bates.
Oh wow! Especially since Norman Bates is so anti-institutions. When he freaks out about Marion saying like you should put her in some place, he probably hates what. Well, if he doesn't know the other side of Lecter, he would hate what Lecter stands for. So, Ashley, if I were to start writing something about that dueling serial killers thing you just brought up, would I have to pay you if it takes off? Because
I'd sell that for a Klondike bar. I'd sell that for a Klondike bar, even though I've never had a Klondike bar. No, I just allow it, and basically, if something comes from it, I'll go. I inspired that. I'm inspired by a fake story. Mine.
Yeah, because
Actually, I think
what's
I would
that?
love to see Hannibal Lecter in a sit down session with any number of people. I would love to see him in a sit down session with Billy Loomis.
Yeah. Now, that's interesting because Billy Loomis knows him as a fictional character. Is this a Billy Loomis that knows him as a real person?
Sure.
Or is he doing a last action hero thing? Because that would blow Billy's mind. Billy would have a field day with that.
Oh man, speaking of Last Action Hero, I feel like Benedict would definitely love to get in on this conversation.
Oh man, wouldn't you? Isn't it one of the great cinematic tragedies that we didn't get to see Benedict's plan come to fruition? That would have been insane.
They should have made it into a comic book.
I'm seeing some.
By the way, I totally just pronounced fruition as flourition for some reason. I wish I hadn't done that.
I'm seeing some retracted messages, so that's why I'm always intrigued as to what got retracted because I can't see. So yeah, AJ, go with that idea. What you will.
Yeah, because it would almost be like a reveal in the sense of there's two killers in Scream, except it's two different investigations.
Mm-hmm.
It would eventually kind of combine. That's kind of I was kind of somewhat I kind of wanted to do. I was outlining like a couple of years ago, like the way I described it to a friend was Magnolia with serial killers, where it's like that many characters, but like half of them are cops and half of them are serial killers, and it's investigations that keep crossing paths. But then I realized
So,
the one that's
so is
only
it like so is it like The Departed meets Seven Psychopaths?
I feel the crux point would be like somehow the serial killers want the same target, and then they sort of have to outwit each other as to like who gets the
oh,
pleasure
wow.
of getting the.
Oh, this is good.
I'd like
Yes.
to see a Hunger Games with serial killers.
Oh, that'd be wild. But yeah, the reason I shelved my sort of Magnolia with serial killers idea was it's like number one, this is probably more of a mini series than a script and like a feature script, and number two, this is going to take me like 20 years to write. It could be my Irishman. It's like I'll start thinking about it now, and then when I'm like old as fuck, it'll be when I'm like 70, it'll be made.
uh,
So I still got to make my first movie though. If anybody watching this happens to know any millionaires that are willing to invest in just any random millionaires sitting around with nothing to do, I've got like 50 scripts here for you.
Oh man, I just had a monkey's paw scenario for you. You put this out there, you're like, anybody that is a millionaire not doing anything right now, and then you get a call from mom, and it's like, hey, Harvey Weinstein's on the line.
Oh Jesus!
The monkey's paw will get you.
And then it's that question that Hollywood's asking since the whole Weinstein era. What are you willing to do for a movie career?
it'd be the equivalent of like the box. The button.
No, if anybody wanted to work with Weinstein right now, they wouldn't have a career, so it would cancel itself.
I'm guessing this is probably gonna be an affirmative answer, but Spencer asks, AJ, have you ever watched a video of Tarantino going through every movie that he saw in theaters in 1979?
Seen that video. There was a lot of when he was promoting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's book. He was doing a lot of stuff. The best thing ever was I think probably my favorite Tarantino interview I've ever seen happened recently. It was when Dana Carvey was guest hosting for Jimmy Kimmel. That is an amazing conversation, and it's the first half of it is just Dana Carvey quoting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to him and doing like Pacino impressions and Brad Pitt impressions. And Tarantino looks like he's about to cry because he's so honored that Dana Carvey loved his movie that much. Dana Carvey said that he saw it 11 times. And
So
it's and he tells a great story about his, because he was talking about fatherhood that he's new to, and a game that his son is really into zombies. So he said that to be a zombie, he mimics the Romero zombies. And then his son has gotten to do that now. And it's like, even though his son isn't old enough to watch Romero zombie movies yet, he's now aware of how Romero zombies work. And it's like, so he's already kind of programming his child to be another movie genius in the making. And it's like a 20-minute interview, and it's probably one of the best he's ever given. And Dana Carvey needs his own talk show.
he had that.
Again, Spencer says it was such a good time. He has great taste. Do you think Quentin's a better writer or director?
I feel like I have an answer to this, but I don't want it to sound like, because his writing is all his own. His writing is his own language, period. A lot of his directing is homage to other directors, but I don't want that to undermine, because a lot of people dismiss him and say like, "Oh, he just steals and that's all his career is," which is obviously it's clearly idiotic, but it's the way he's able to use homage to still make his own clear style and his own clear voice. But it's the fact that I I would say writing, just based on the fact that there's not much homage in his writing is his own language. So I would say that, but that's yeah, he's still like my favorite director as well. So that's just kind of a moot point, but
How disappointed would you have been in that interview if you would have thought that Quentin was honored because he was a fan of Wayne's World, and then you found out that it was because Quentin loves Master of Disguise?
it would not surprise me in the slightest if Tarantino loved Master of Disguise. Because he loves great shit and he loves shit.
um, I'd honestly say, director, because I feel he could take somebody else's script and get to the heart of what the vision was of the writer, even if it isn't his own stuff.
Yeah.
I would say. Then again, that's obviously partly sort of cinematography
But
and getting all that right as well. But
but
I think
then
too.
also on the writing front, when somebody else is doing his story like True Romance, it yeah. It's like True Romance. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm too excited. True True Romance is so great as a Tony Scott movie while still feeling like a Tarantino movie. Like, it's a Tarantino movie to its absolute core, but it's also totally a Tony Scott movie. And it's like this.
Speaking speaking of True Romance, when I come up this weekend, I have a picture to show you that we took. There was a purple Cadillac driving around Wilmington, and the license plate said True Romance, and we got a picture of it.
um, Josie says I can't bang the drum enough on how much I want Florence Pugh and Post Malone to date or star. Their name would be Pugh Malone. He's a Cancer, she's a Capricorn.
Yeah, people are probably going to hate on it. Dude, from what I've seen so far, I feel like Post Malone can do the acting thing. His little bit in Spencer Confidential, he's actually really good. And I kind of wish he'd had a slightly bigger part in Wrath of Man.
Part of me wants to actually make it Flo Malone, because then it sounds like Home Alone. Favorite Steven Zalian screenplay?
I feel like it seems like it might be too soon to jump on The Irishman, but I mean, shit.
not maybe for like the actual content of it, but he was credited as doing the story of Mission Impossible 1. And I think if that hadn't have done as well as it is, you wouldn't have had the monolith that we'd have had. But in all honesty, I'd probably go with Schindler's List. I know it was one of his earlier ones, but I still think that's like strongest.
Because we have that. There's a Civil Action, and he was Sorkin's co-writer on Moneyball and The Irishman. What else are we looking at?
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Exodus, Gods and Kings, All the King's Men, Interpreter, Gangs of New York, Hannibal, Clear and Present Danger, Jack the Bear.
I think for me, it's got to be Gangs of New York.
Searching for Bobby Fischer,
Nice.
Awakenings, and The Falcon and the Snowman. And obviously, he's also doing the Ripley TV series, harkening back to. And he also wrote, directed, and exec produced the Night of series that was on HBO, the mini series from about. Well, it was the British series that it's based on, Criminal Justice, was very good. I'm surprised it took 8 years for America to copy it, or to adapt it, I should say.
He's always felt like one of the unsung giants of screenwriters, but yeah, that's kind of the first time I've really taken a look at the filmography as a whole. That's
Yeah, I'm just
and
looking.
honestly, I still got to come back to The Irishman. I think I know it's like the most recent, but it's The Irishman.
Schindler's List is the only Oscar that he's won. For script. Somewhat surprising. Bry mentions how Telluride was when King Richard took off. Spencer asks thoughts on Tess. I'm guessing this is the Polanski one from '79.
I remember it's a lot of vagueness because it's not really my kind of movie. I was mainly just watching it when I was watching like all the Oscar movies. And I feel like it was long. That's how I remember it.
Long as
And
hell.
like I was saying, I do want to go back and like rewatch all of the stuff thoroughly that I was kind of just watching in quick succession to check things off.
Oh, Josephine says to you, Chris, I loved your Elliot Gould Judd Hirsch movie pitch. Also, great job, both of you, on the Beethoven verses. Such a funny video, and Spencer highlights that you were very funny, Chris.
That was a fun night because we had just watched both the movies right before we turned the camera on. I think that was the same night we did our villains video. I think.
I think so. What was fun about that night was we added 20 minutes to Beethoven's Second by going back and rewatching the scene where the guy falls out of the house and like noticing different things in it. I think at one point, if I remember right, we took it frame by frame.
Yes, we definitely did, and we took it frame by frame. Then we took it frame by frame again while zoomed in. What's the guy's name? I can't remember now.
Can't remember either.
Oh man.
Which Beethoven's film do I need to look on Wikipedia?
I want to say it was Chase, but I don't think that's right. Maybe it is.
Which film?
It's the second one.
Okay, Beethoven's Second. Christopher Castile. Chris Penn. Are you talking about the character or?
Yeah, the character names.
George Alice Rice, Ted and Emily, Regina Floyd, Taylor Devereaux, Seth,
Taylor. That's
Yeah.
it.
Ashley
Taylor
Hamilton.
Devereaux.
Ashley Hamilton.
Oh man, props to him. He played the perfect douchebag.
Played Jack Taggart, aka Firepower in Iron Man 3.
Really?
Beethoven's second is listed as his first film role, so
Oh man, I hope he was cast in Iron Man 3 because of that scene.
he was somehow he also got a gig in Rules Don't Apply. That Warren Beatty one nobody remembers.
Oh, Warren Beatty definitely casted him for that scene.
Oh.
Bry says I watched Black Summer months ago. Was so confusing, and then after the sex scene, that's when the best section of the movie began, all the way until the end.
No, when it basically goes full horror.
Does anybody else find it weird how everything? Oh, I guess it's Smurfy. Hey, Smurfy. Anybody find it weird how everything, everywhere, all at once, and Austin Butler are still in the race, even though Elvis and that movie came out during the summer? So, Coda.
I'm not surprised.
I'll go back to it again. Silence of the Lambs came out in February.
Yeah, I was telling Owen it reminded me of Get Out in that sense where Get Out came out obviously much earlier, but it was one of those cases where it's like, oh, the hype will eventually die down, and the hype just only gets stronger as the year goes on. So I think Everything Everywhere All at Once has been sticking around pretty easily. Butler, I still feel like Butler's going to drop off, but maybe that's just me.
Also, Bryce says, listen, I got 20 out of 20, 22 out of 23 for last year's Oscars, so how's that?
Who was it that did that?
Brian chat.
Acknowledge Brian.
I used to be, like I said, I know how full of shit this sounds, but Owen was there to witness it. I was so much better at predictions before we started doing videos. I swear I was.
Even though you've won the predictions like 3 times out the past 4 years that I've been, from what I remember, doing it.
In the big 8 for nominations, the big 8 for 2010, I missed 2, and they were both an original screenplay. Everything else I had. I had the whole thing where Andrew Garfield didn't make it and Mila Kunis didn't make it, and oh no, I fucked up director because I had Nolan in instead of the Coen brothers. Yeah, I remember this shit vividly. That was 12 years ago, and I remember
the war wound.
Because I knew that John Hawkes was getting in instead of Garfield, and a lot of people had it the other way around. And Jackie Weaver in place of Kunis, a lot of people had the other way around.
Spencer says, I think a change in the Oscar calendar is good for movies all round. I mean, when did Top Gun come out? May? June?
The end of May.
So that would arguably considered an early film. But I think that is going to be the blockbuster that shows up in the 10 for Best Picture. More than likely. Just to try and go, look, common people, there's a film that you have seen. It's not just on Apple Plus. Ah! It's not just on Apple Plus or the Netflix, because you can't afford it anymore because everything else is so expensive.
Yeah, Netflix is so weird now. Netflix is just an absolute shit show for like 10 months. And then there's 2 months where it's like the prestige capital.
Just looking at like the lineup for last week, and that Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg film is the #1 viewed worldwide, and I'm like, People have no taste.
Well, like I said, I said it in my review of it, and credit where credit's due. That movie is not the hot garbage that I thought it was. It's not good, but it is surprisingly not as bad as I thought it would be.
um, Smurfy mentions about anybody taking Bod out their predictions, and Spencer says yeah, him, but then also I only have Olivia Colman for Empire of Light left.
I'm gonna let the month play out.
Yeah, I'd let more
Before I
people
make
see it.
any changes.
I don't know how many people would Telluride.
Yeah. And that, well, it's like we were talking about also. There's some stuff that gets critically bashed that still makes it, and my Exhibit A is always Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bo Rap Horseman, yeah.
Because not only did Bohemian Rhapsody get a Best Picture nomination, it won 4 categories.
Including
Mind you, 2 of those categories are 1 category now, but still.
Well, no, because the most egregious is the editing.
I'm okay with. I don't care about the chair scene that lasts for half a second. I think the editing's fine otherwise.
I watched that again somewhat recently, and whether I've been toned out of this because of watching too much WWE over the past couple of years and all the camera cuts that they do every like 4 seconds, it just felt like that from time to time.
Do you know what he's referring to, AJ, with that?
Not completely.
Okay, so you've watched, and Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, you've watched a wrestling match before, right?
Obviously.
Imagine if every time somebody threw a punch, the camera did this for every punch.
Oh, the most recent Resident Evil movie. Well, not the most recent, but the last Resident Evil movie, yeah.
Also, sometimes with those punches, it's like focus on camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, but like faster.
Wayne Campbell did it better.
I mean, speaking of Wayne Campbell, like the scene in Bohemian Rhapsody when they're telling Freddie about "We Will Rock You." I remember the editing really standing out in a good way in that scene, and how it was timed with the clapping, but also not completely timed with it, so it didn't feel too formulaic and too obvious and too choppy. There's a lot of scenes in that movie that are really well done, and I fucking hate the internet. Because it's real. The main reason.
As you actively sit on the internet to have this discussion.
Yeah, just here, internet in general. Just go fuck yourself entirely. Not the people watching or listening. The internet as a whole. the device that is the being, because it's a sentient being at this point. Of the internet itself.
So there's still going to be a video tomorrow, right?
I've watched her. It's real, damn it.
What happened was, and yeah, you can have actual qualms with the editing of Bohemian Rhapsody, but I swear to God, you ask 9 people in a group of 10, do you think Bohemian Rhapsody's editing Oscar was deserved? 9 out of 10 of those people only saw that fucking video where people took the 3 seconds of that over 2-hour movie of him sitting in a chair that's really weirdly cut together, and they're going to say, oh no, the Oscars are entirely meaningless because of that.
I'll take it one step further and say 3 out of those 10 might say, oh, there's an Oscar for editing.
Well, I feel like the concept there was people that like are aware of people like us, or the group that's been selected here.
We made it to Contestants Row. Now we've got a bid on a toaster.
But that's also like, fucking, who was it? Who are those guys? The Honest Trailers? It's like, when I remember, well, first of all, I love that we say that Bohemian Rhapsody was hated by critics, but people fucking loved it that weren't critics when it first came out. Mm-hmm. It had a big following. And then the Honest trailer comes out and they say, oh, this movie's literally walk hard. And then I swear, after the Honest trailer came out, that was everybody's fucking go-to comment was, "Oh, it's just Walk Hard, only it's taking itself seriously." And it's like, that's what the internet is. All one popular person or one popular channel has to say is one thing, and then suddenly millions of people have this very insincere comment or this insincere opinion about an entire movie. An entire movie. And I hate it. I hate the fucking internet when it comes to movie discourse.
So I'm assuming then you're new to American politics.
I'm not. You can go that direction. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. You can go down that rabbit hole.
No, I'm gonna stand at the hole and look down in it, and then I'm gonna back away.
And just watch all of the carnage that's happening at the bottom of that hole.
Spencer says, "What?"
I'll be Homer in the bushes.
Spencer says, "What do you think would fix the Terminator movie franchise, or is it too far gone?" Honestly, I think the latter. I don't.
Yeah, I think you got to put Terminator Dog down.
I feel it's run its course. I mean, you had something interesting like Sarah Connor Chronicles, and then you just gave up on it.
I don't mind the Terminator movies all the way up to Salvation, even though Salvation gets a lot of hate. But at the same time, I have not seen Salvation since the theater in 2009. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'll change. But I remember actually liking Salvation at the time. But yeah, when we got to, is it Genesis and Dark Fate? Are those the only other two? I've lost track of how many there are now.
I feel like you're missing one. But
Genesis was the weird, like, part remake, and then Dark Fate was, oh look, Sarah Connor's back. The others don't exist.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like now that I hate Genesis and Dark Fate so much, I do wonder if it's probably tainted Salvation for me. Like, I finally go back after 13 years and rewatch Salvation, it'll be like, oh yeah, I see now why people think this is shit. I get it. I don't know. I feel like it wasn't that long ago I watched Rise of the Machines again, and it was fine.
I think also, to be fair, I pity anyone that was told to make the next movie in a series when the movie that was the last one in it was Terminator 2.
Exactly. There was no way.
No.
It's one thing that it's not Cameron, because nobody can make a Cameron movie but Cameron. Nobody can follow Cameron except Cameron.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also too why movies like The Dark Knight Rises get shit on.
Why is that?
How are you going to follow The Dark Knight?
Oh yeah.
People shit on Jedi. How are you going to follow Empire? I mean, sometimes a movie franchise, when it peaks, it's going to taint the rest of the product.
Yeah, because when I say I think Rise of the Machines is fine, the last thing I'm doing is comparing it to T2. Mm-hmm. It's like that's a complete and total separation.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of examples of this. Look at Aliens and Alien 3.
Yeah, I actually defended Alien 3 quite a bit in the versus we did a little while back. But it's like I said, you really, even Fincher, even though it was like the first Fincher, still Fincher, you really just can't follow Cameron. It's kind of impossible. That's why people are saying like, oh, I don't give a fuck about the new Avatar, and it's like, oh, that's still a thing. Oh, I don't care. Oh, it was the biggest movie of all time at one point. I can't even quote it. That's another thing that the fucking internet started. One person said I can even say a quote from Avatar, and now everybody says that as if it's a criticism. But that's the thing is, think about the fact that we're getting a sequel to Avatar. Have you looked at the rest of James Cameron's sequels? It's not just that you can't follow Cameron. It's that Cameron is a sequel god.
I got that close.
Piranha 2, I know.
I got that close to doing a show where the microphone didn't mute on me, and it just happened to the last. I'm like,
Oh no, we can't hear you. Piranha 2 killed you.
Your egregious overlook of Piranha 2 has sent Ashley into a vow of silence.
No, because I just realised. Oh, look, we've actually got to the line. We're nearly there.
But no, that begs a point, and I think part of that is every example we listed was a sequel that topped the original. I think it's because, people expect the third one to top the second one, and it's just not going to happen. Spider-Man 3, another one.
Can I make an exception to that rule?
I mean, it's funny. I just went on that whole Cameron tirade because I probably prefer Alien to Aliens. Mm-hmm. But I just appreciate the fact that like every Alien movie is a completely different movie, and I think that's awesome.
Can I make an exception?
It's a different genre.
Yeah. Yeah, because the first Alien movie is practically a slasher movie. Aliens is an action movie. Alien 3 is what, a prison movie, more or less?
Yeah.
More or less, yeah.
And Resurrection's a full-blown monster movie.
Yeah, monster it's all sci-fi, but 4 has a very sci-fi feel.
As I say, I figured sci-fi was like a given for all of them.
Yeah. But I feel like 4 feels the most sci-fi, most sci-fi.
Yeah, and Aliens, because Aliens is very like the verses that I did with Aliens was Starship Troopers.
Oh, okay.
And then Alien.
And yes, Starship Troopers is a satire. I'm saying that very, very obvious sentence so that the internet in abundance doesn't tell me, "Hey, did you know Starship Troopers is a satire? I just learned that."
I mean,
I hate the internet.
I feel like when Neil Patrick Harris came out in a Nazi uniform, if you didn't realize that, then you might as well just turn off the movie. Ow.
And it's Verhoeven's thing. Satire's always been Verhoeven's thing, at least in the 80s forward.
Now he's doing Bernadette, which is definitely not a satire.
But I mean, what's that say about Verhoeven, where like it's a satire movie, but it still kicks ass in its own way?
Yes. Even Hollow Man. I was rewatching Hollow Man not that long ago, and even though it's not tongue-in-cheek like RoboCop or Total Recall or Starship Troopers, it was still like there's a trashiness to Hollow Man that I really love.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like this is the Verhoeven portion.
Like a very B movie feel, but it had the effects of an A movie.
Yeah. And then also has like the smutty material you'd find in a Grindhouse movie thrown in there.
It feels like partly it's a C movie because it doesn't know whether it wants to be A or B, so I feel we need option 3. Go options.
Man, I really wish we could hear Ashley.
What?
I don't know what's going on.
I have the bars moving. Oh, I'm going to unplug it.
He's going to have to take like a whiteboard and just write on it and hold it up like Wile E. Coyote.
He's had to do that before. I think it was a piece of paper, but still. There was a great moment where we were doing the
Is
Mr.
it working
Ripley
now?
Yes.
That was. I guess I pulled it out and put it back in too much. Okay, that's gonna get clipped. I unplugged the microphone and I guess I replugged it back in too quickly because my green bar was moving and everything. I'm guessing people heard me, maybe, because it's recording off my computer. But you guys couldn't hear me, so that was confusing because I'm like, the green bar's moving. I can be registered.
I hope you're muted when this like goes on to YouTube and stays, because we're gonna look so obnoxious. If you're like trying to talk, and we're just talking over you.
Well, I mean, in our defense, you do mention several times, "Hey, we can't hear you."
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it was.
I wanted it to be a situation like in the second Austin Powers, whenever he's like, "Good smoke, and then it starts working.
That's why I was confused, because like the green bar was moving and you were still like, we can't hear you, and I'm like, but the green bar's moving. I see evidence to suggest otherwise. Is this some sort of weird troll? Like April Fool came late in September or something. But then it was like, oh wait, is it because I didn't let it establish and it's just like being crappy? Ah, my computer. So yeah, we got to the line finally. To the final last comments. Bry says the animated Lord of the Rings that was made by Bakshi, which was only the first of the 2 books for the film. Hobbit was made by Rankin Bass, who did all the holiday specials and Thundercats, and even finished Bakshi's movie with the adaptation of Return of the King. Because Bakshi was supposed to be a 2-part film, but executives didn't feel like a movie called Lord of the Rings Part 1 wouldn't have been good for the box office. Hi there, Harry Potter. Hi there, Hunger Games. Hi there, the best one, of course, Allegiant, where Part 2 never even happened. It just exists on a big cliffhanger. They're still dangling there, like.
The Divergent movies were so fucking bad. That was just the perfect punchline. That franchise got exactly what it deserved.
Bakshi's Lord of the Rings is also the longest American animated film, beating Disney's Fantasia.
Wow.
Bry says I was still heard, so yeah, it just screwed up on Discord, just not on the actual thing.
Shit.
Quentin loves Ghosts of Girlfriends Past.
Yeah, it made him cry on a plane.
That's brilliant.
It was, but it's I love that story though, because it's like the scene he's talking about is the scene where McConaughey's gifted a camera, and then like as a child, and then he grew up to be a photographer, and it's like that's a director talking, and it's like, so cameras are his thing also, so there's like a personal touch to it, so it's like it doesn't make me like Ghosts of Girlfriends Past or anything, because I don't. But yeah.
Binaural Dean briefly in the chat. What's your thoughts on Kings of Queens? I've never seen an episode because it only gets shown over here at like 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and I'm not up then because I go to sleep then because I stay up watching the wrestling until sort of 5, and then it's like, screw daytime TV.
I mean, I may have an answer to this in a couple months, because that was the direction I was considering going after I finished Everybody Loves Raymond, because apparently they take place in the same universe along with The Nanny, which I learned the other day, which is interesting.
I just don't know. I haven't watched it. I've seen maybe clips here and there, or like, flipped by it here and there, but I don't know that I could watch Kevin James for such a prolonged period of time. Like, how many seasons was that?
Ooh.
I feel like it was
I want to say 7, and I know how it ends.
Does he become a mall cop? Holy shit! 9.
9. That's how many Raymond was.
9 seasons of King of Queens, 207
episodes.
episodes.
A lot of comedies go 9 seasons, because The Office went 9 seasons. Frasier went 9. No, Frasier was.
To be fair, it's probably 8.5, because most of them are sort of like 1 to 5 were 25 episodes each. 6 was 24. 7 was 22. 8 was 23. And 9 was only 13.
Yeah, that sounds like a half season.
And here's the thing too, is we can say like, oh, but Curb's been going for so long, why aren't we criticizing that? But number one, obviously, pretty much anything Larry David related, there's a consistency. But when we're
Seinfeld, another comedy that went 9.
Yeah. But and that's my sort of Larry David, like, Seinfeld doesn't count here.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about these shows that go for 9 seasons, we're talking 24 episodes a season, right?
Mostly.
For the most part, yeah. Everybody Loves Raymond has either 22 or 23. I think one had like 25.
It's no wonder comedies go to shit so much, because you can't sustain that. Yeah, like, Seinfeld is like an exception. Was there any other comedy show that didn't eventually shit itself? That went for that long? That's what I love about stuff like the new stuff like Barry. Barry always leaves me wanting more, because it's only half an hour and there's only 8 episodes a season.
I think
And
I have a show that I could put in contention. Well, I have two that I could put in contention for that: Cheers and Frasier.
did they sustained the whole time?
To me, yeah. I mean, Office is my favorite comedy of all time, but Frasier really gave it a run for its money. Like,
I
there's
was
some days I wake up and I question if I actually did like Frasier more.
I was really into Cheers. The only I got to season 4 and then it switched services, and then I just never caught back up to it.
It's on Peacock in total. If you ever want to finish it.
I do find it fascinating that it was released on King of Queens was released on DVD here before Canada.
Oh, Cheers is also on Paramount Plus, I believe. If you don't want to deal with Peacock.
A reason to buy Paramount Plus for a change.
Frasier's there too. That's how I watched Frasier.
Yeah. The only thing that's annoying me about Paramount Plus right now is that thing where when you pause it and like just a big ass ad comes up and you have to like go back into it, and you have to maneuver back into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's obnoxious.
I feel the second part of binaural Dean's thing is a plant, because of who isn't on the call. Because the second part is, are you a fan of Patton Oswalt? I just feel we should all say no, and then Owen comes in and goes.
We had this conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, I remember, because I remember mentioning his Twitter.
Yeah, and we brought
Dancing
him.
Rick.
Yeah, and
I mean, he's not Dancing Rick, but he's Dancing Rick's friend.
and Delmar Darien and Magnolia. Magnolia's coming up a lot today.
Hopefully, binaural Dean isn't just asking this every week and waiting till Owen comes back so he can say.
He might have just not heard us the last
Yeah.
time.
We should just make that a running question, like every video. What's your opinion on Patton
Did you
Oswalt?
threaten to overrule him?
We'll just check in on Patton Oswalt every couple of weeks. That sounds like we can.
That does sound like time well spent.
And I gotta bring Big Fandom Movie Club at some point.
Josephine's off for a shower. See you tomorrow for the Cloud Atlas. Yes. We are getting to the Cloud Atlas. As we reach 0 viewers. Hopefully that's a glitch in the thing. Who knows? We peaked and then it went everywhere. So, yeah. Tomorrow...
So we pulled another direct copycat of the AEW locker room.
Yeah. The thing I'm more surprised is the bloody porn bot hasn't come in chat yet. I jinxed that. It's going to happen in about 3 minutes.
Maybe Pornbot will pick up the Patton Oswalt question.
What's all these aubergines / eggplants for?
What's your thoughts on Patton Oswalt? Oh, that's the Pornbot. Okay.
So, yeah, tomorrow we'll be discussing Cloud Atlas, and then am I supposed to be revealing tonight, or are we doing it tomorrow?
It should be like right now, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say we do the poll on the Q&A video, so that only makes sense.
Yeah, so people are aware, but we will state it again tomorrow. The movie for 2 weeks' time, Owen's choice, by default, where you don't even have a say in it because it's his birthday. Penn and Teller Get Killed. From 1989. Let's hope it's somewhere on the internet. Another film, of course, is related to Tarantino by saying that it exemplifies the poor quality of directors' final films. We'll go into that in 2 weeks. And why Owen will say that opinion is wrong. Tarantino is wrong. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, that will be in 2 weeks. But yeah, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, Cloud Atlas discussion. Then, just checking on my notes that me and Owen had earlier. So yeah, the next Q&A will be on the 19th. With the Penn and Teller Movie Club discussion on Tuesday the 20th, and then we will be back on for Oscar predictions on Monday the 26th of September. So that'll be that's your diary if you want to put it in. I have to remember.
And I am pretty much everything in between.
And then we finally get Chris's one October the 3rd. Well, week of October the 3rd, so it'll probably be October the 4th. We'll finally get around to that. So,
I can't wait to get to summer school. That's going to be a good time.
in the middle of autumn. So,
I mean, to be fair, if summer school was voted instead of Cloud Atlas, it would have been time appropriate.
nah.
Yeah.
Then again, it's got to be summer somewhere.
I should have picked something shittier.
It's summer somewhere. So yeah, that is your lot for us this time around. I've still got some snack stashes to get sorted and whatever to go up whenever. AJ's doing I want to say it can't be a movie marathon, but a whole lot of AJ movie content over the next 2 months.
The day after Movie Club for Cloud Atlas is when Remake Versus start.
Oh. Right, so that's the stuff on the YouTube channel. Chris, hype up your Instagram.
Instagram is Chris Hunt's Toys. Latest post went up yesterday. It's my finds from the Wilmington, North Carolina Toy Hall. Thanks to the stores, Whatever Wilmington, buried under Toys of Comics, Memory Lane Comics, and Fanboys Comics for those finds. So you can find pictures of all those on Instagram. It was more of a comics find than a toy find, but we still found a couple things, including a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman Living Dead doll, which was a cool find. The next toy hunt will be Toyhio, and that event will take place on October the 15th. So expect pictures of the hall to come up that night. Also doing meet and greets there, so look for pictures of me with Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Ethan Page, Hornswoggle, Evil Uno, and Dark Order 10.
Oh, you say Evil Uno. And I remember that the mask is still here. We just need Owen to come on with the mask again. And we just have that weird bit. Maybe that's what I need to do when my mic is broken. Do the luchador thing. You can find me on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK, although most of it is probably just retweeting stuff rather than my own stuff. AJ cannot be found on social media. And just like Keith Richards has some of his teeth. and also cannot be killed by conventional weapons. Thanks everybody for being in here. Cassie, Benoral, Dean, Josephine, Bryce, Spencer, Smurfy. Sadly, the person who wasn't doing all the football/soccer stuff last time has not popped in. We lost a viewer. Damn it. But yeah, thanks everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Literally till tomorrow, boys and girls. Ooh, what am I going to switch to? Oh, Heaven's Gate. The lizard. The lizard, by God. He got a lizard.